as the cars make their way down into turn number 1 behind the X6. Salute to Mike Stefanik. The field broken up by dual Toyota pace cars as they make their way down the backstretch. Excitement for the Musket 250, but a solemn time again as we salute the great Mike Stefanik. And the tribute to him, the paint job on the 51 in the K&N series, and here the X6 in the modified ranks. And now, as a special tribute, the drivers of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour will go 4 wide. A 4 wide parade lap. Again, in salute to the great Mike Stefanik. And as they come by this time, fans, give them a little wave, and at the same time, give a little prayer for Mike Stefanik and the Stefanik family. All of racing in the NASCAR family with heavy hearts this weekend here at New Hampshire. Cars will now fall back into line. A very classy move by NASCAR and New Hampshire Motor Speedway in salute once again to Mike Stefanik. Of course, several of the drivers in this field today got to compete with Stefanik on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and know what a tough racer he was, but what a great man he was, what a great family man he was, and what a great friend in the pit area to many. So as we set the scene for today's Musket 250, let's go pit side. Here's Joe.
Well, Pete, certainly with 250 laps on the docket here today in the Musket 250, a lot of things for these pit crews and crew chiefs to think about that don't normally come into play in one of these Whelen Modified Tour events. Mainly, they will have green flag pit stops here this afternoon. Typically, we see races that don't run long enough where fuel becomes a factor, forcing the cars down pit lane. But the pit window here today will go about 85 laps conservatively, but you could push it to as much as 95 laps around this racetrack on a tank of fuel. So that'll be about as far as these teams will go. And we heard Doug Coby talk earlier. You don't want to go much more than 100, 120 laps on tires. So it'll be some of the guiding forces in today's race. We'll see a couple of pit stops. Lots of work to be done here. Should be a good Musket 250.
Thank you, Joe. Joe will be working pit road for the rest of the afternoon. This is Pete Falcone along with Andy Hall up here in the announce booth to bring you all of the 250 laps which are just about ready to go green. The stars and cars of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour as the Toyota pace car peels off of pit road, and they're in the start zone. Green flag is in the air. The Musket 250 is underway. Down into turn one, John McKennedy will get the jump at the start. He's able to pull up in front of Doug Coby and lead him down the backstretch. Coby right with him on the back bumper, and believe me, you will see a lot of drafting, a lot of bumper-to-bumper action in this race, all through the 250 laps, soon to be 249 as they come around. Out of the fourth turn, McKennedy will lead lap one. Coby for second, Ron Silk is third. Anthony Nocella in the fourth spot in the number 92. Off the second turn and down the backstretch. McKennedy, the pole sitter here in July for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, leading here in the very early stages as they set the pace. Off at turn four once again, McKennedy in front with Coby, Silk, Nocella, Chase Dowling, last year's Musket 250 winner, and Bobby Santos in the number 36. Here's Coby with a look down underneath McKennedy. And he makes the pass to take the lead. The first of many lead changes that we will see this afternoon. We've got normally in a 100 or 150 lap race for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, we'll have a bunch of lead changes, but at 250 laps, it'll change as the afternoon goes on, as Joe pointed out a little while ago, as we go under caution for trouble on the backstretch. As Joe pointed out, pit stops, there are no scheduled breaks in the race, so pit stops become a factor. See, Walter Sutcliffe stopped. Craig Lutz went around in the number 46. Tough break for Lutz. As the caution came out and they were slowing on the backstretch, he got caught up in that. And so that 78 is stopped down on the bottom of the racetrack heading into turn three. Let's go back down pit side to Joe.
While we were finishing up the K&N Pro Series Apple Barrel 125, we had the opportunity to catch up with Timmy Salamito, and he talked about how he and Max McLaughlin took the tribute paint schemes for Mike Stefanik's cars and put them on the front straightaway. It looked back at the history of when Mike Stefanik won both championships in both the Modified and in the K&N Series, which was Busch North and Featherlight Modifieds back at the time. And they staged a picture at Nazareth. Well, they did that here yesterday. As luck would have it, when Timmy Salamito drove that race car out onto the racetrack, they discovered a problem with the power steering. The power steering in that car had to be replaced this morning before they went racing. Had they not gone out into the racetrack to figure out whether or not they could take that photo and provide that tribute opportunity for Mike Stefanik, well, they would not have known that they did not have a problem, or they would have had a problem with the power steering, and they probably would have only been able to go about 40 or 50 laps in the race here today. So a bit of good luck for that number X6 team for Timmy Salamito. Those teams, among others, really watching some of the temperatures of these race cars. Today, a very warm day compared to the race that we had here a year ago in the Musket 250. Keep an eye on those temperatures because, guys, when you get drafting up behind some of the cars in front of you, you get no air into the radiator to help keep those engines cool. And this team, among others, Timmy Salamito, trying to make sure that their engine stays cool here, even in the early stages of this race. And they are even talking about fuel conservation at this point. Make sure they save everything they can to stretch that fuel window and give themselves options as the strategies play out.
Well, already a problem for Craig Lutz. We said that he got turned around over there going into turn three under the caution. He's got the nose of that thing kind of bent up, I think, as everybody started to slow down for the caution flag. Tough break for the 46. Breakout year for Craig Lutz in the Riverhead Building Supply entry. 8 top 5s in 2019. Won the pole at the last race, Riverhead. And he's got some damage there on the front of the car, but wants to scoot out before going a lap down. Went to the attention of the crew. They were working all over the front of that car, mostly from a cosmetic sort of thing to keep, just as you were talking about, Joe, about keeping those cars cool today. For Lutz in the number 46.
Pete, he's coming down pit lane because they had to do a pass-through on that 46. He tried to beat the pace car off of pit lane, and so they were quickly alerted. The crew chief, Doug Ojeko, got in the radio, said, come back down pit lane, do your pass-through, do it now, so that way you don't have to do it when we're under the green flag. Lutz works his way off of pit lane and then tries to make it back up to the back of the field so they can be ready to go for the green.
Another tough break for Craig Lutz as the pace car is off. Here they are in the Geico restart zone, and the green flag goes in the air in the battle between McKennedy and Kobe again down into turn 1. McKennedy gets a good shove from Anthony Nocella as they race down there, and McKennedy drifts up the racetrack ever so slightly, and that allows Kobe to work the outside and Nocella as well. So they're side by side jamming down into turn 3.
Yeah, very busy at the front half of the field. Top 10, 12, 14. All still side by side as they head out onto the front straightaway. Not a good restart for Ron Silk in that new look 85. Kevin Stewart's car, as that car did not come up to speed, did not get down the back straightaway very well. Looks like now he's, again, not getting the drive off of turn number 2 right around the bottom of the racetrack as the top 5, now 6, go single file. And it'll be Ron Silk, the first guy trying to make moves. He alongside that tribute car, the X6 of Timmy Solomito.
Yeah, he's down on the bottom, and he's got a group with him. Again, a lot better to have somebody with you. He's got Chase Dowling up on the back bumper, trying to create a little bit of a draft and give him a little shove going down in there, and a shove it was as he gets pushed up the racetrack. Silk almost into the side of another car, but able to keep it going forward. And there's trouble now. Silk, again, bouncing off the number 82 of Andy Seiss early in the race. He got a pretty good bump to the right front of that number 85. Ron Silk, who's had a terrific year so far in that Kevin Stewart entry. Brand new car for them this weekend. Brand new paint job, too, as he's trying to make some noise and get back to victory lane here at New Hampshire. In fact, Ron Silk, no stranger to, he was the winner in July and also back in 2011 here in New Hampshire. But he's had kind of a rough start here so far as he dukes it out with Matt Swanson in the number 3, and right behind him, Patrick Emmerling in the 07.
Silk getting up on the high side of the racetrack where he wants to be. Looks like that car with much better speed up on the outside of the racetrack. As we told you earlier in qualifying, every time that team breaks out a new race car, they win with it. They've done it twice, and they have won. This is the 3rd new race car in recent memory, and that car looking for the win with that brand new race car. Back at the front of the field, it's John Kennedy showing the way. Doug Kobe drafting along with him as those two trying to get checked out on the field, it would appear, not making moves, just in lockstep, nose to tail. Anthony Nocella doing a nice job as he is the multi-time MRS champion. Right behind him, Justin Bonsignor, and Burt Myers rounds out the top 5. But at the front, it's McKennedy and Kobe showing the way as those two starting to distance themselves from the rest of the field. Behind Myers, Eric Cadell doing a nice job in 6th, and it's Andy Seiss making moves, moving forward as he moves to the inside on Solomito. Seiss in that Danny Watts owned machine that Woody Pigcat recently vacated. Seiss doing a very nice job as he picks up a spot and comes to the 7th spot, kicking Solomito back to 8th. And Bonsignor, who is losing spots there in that 51, not having the run early on that he is looking for. McKennedy, Kobe, Nocella, the 36, that's the Sapienza machine, Dave Sapienza's car. Bobby Santos doing the driving here this week as Sapienza still feeling under the weather from that incident at Wall Speedway where he got dinged up a little bit. He'll be back in the car probably not until next year. Burt Myers in 5th, 6th is Goodale, 7th is Seiss, Solomito in 8th. Bonsignor, that other points contender, along with Silk and Kobe in the 9th spot, and 10th is Silk. So 2 of the 3-point getters there in 9th and 10th, and 1 riding along in 2nd. Is the field pretty well strung out. Going to try to log some laps here, get some laps in the books, and figure out what their cars have for those first pit stops. We would anticipate coming somewhere in the lap 80 to 100 range, depending on when cautions fly. Again, no brakes in this race. Last year they had a couple of breaks at lap 100 and lap 200. No brakes here in 2019. It's a solid 250. And the cautions will fly when they fly. As the front 2 continuing to check out just a little bit. McKennedy and Kobe. Nocella, Santos, and Myers rounding out the top 5. Here we go, battle for position. Goodale to the inside on Myers now. That's the battle for the 5th spot. Goodale on the bottom, the bright yellow car. Myers in that black and maroon entry. Goodale not able to make the pass. Now Myers will go to work on Santos.
Yeah, and here's a move by the 82 of Andy Seiss. Looking to the inside of Timmy Solomito. Solomito's got him off the second turn and down the backstretch. That battle's going on right in front of Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor, of course, mostly wants to stay out of trouble here. The running position this early in the race may not matter as much as it does about 200 laps from now, but he's watched that battle between Seiss in the 82, and he's right up on the back bumper of Seiss. Behind him is Patrick Emmerling in the 07, so that's a pretty good battle as they head down the backstretch.
Seiss and Solomito have swapped that place back and forth 3 or 4 times now. Now Solomito able to get out and try to run down that front group, but Andy Seiss right there in front of Justin Bonsignor. Those two would like to work together and try to move forward. Matt Swanson jumps out of line. That's further back in the field. Swanson looking for position now in Old Blue, the 3 car.
John McKennedy continues to set the pace in the number 7, chased by Doug Kobe, and they've checked out on the rest of the field. McKennedy works out of turn 4 in that number 7. Kobe stays right there within striking distance. Then you've got to go several car lengths back to Anthony Nocella in the 92. Here's a move by Eric Goodale, getting down underneath Bobby Santos. Goodale picks up a spot as they head down the backstretch. Then it's Santos in the 36, Burt Myers right behind him, and Ron Silk. That's a good group of cars all running nose to tail through the 3rd and 4th turn.
McKennedy has pretty well controlled this race from the drop of the green flag. Would love to lead all the laps, but that may not make sense in terms of strategy. Joe talked about possibly some fuel saving as this race goes on to give these guys the most options. And when you lead the thing, you're not necessarily saving any fuel. Doug Kobe right there in second. Now Goodale. Eric Goodale with a really good race car here in the early going. That bright yellow number 58 as he works his way to the inside on Nocella. Side by side off turn number 3. Nocella going to hold on to the spot in that Nocella paving entry. Goodale slots in behind him in that 58 car. That is 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, Nocella giving it a good run here. Looking for a good finish with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. He's done well in some of the other modified races and certainly would like to get the victory lane here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series, but he is right now scored in the 3rd spot, but he's been hounded by Goodale as now the 85 of Silk breaks out of line, goes underneath Burt Myers in the 4, and he tucks it up right between Myers and Bob Santos on the backstretch.
Off of turn number 4 now. Goodale able to pick up the 3rd spot as he is going to go in hunt of those front 2, McKennedy and Kobe. Absolutely checking out now. Nocella right up on the back bumper of Goodale. Ron Silk picking up a spot now as he works his way around Bobby Santos, and that would be for the 5th position. Silk in that 85 dropped back a bunch here in the early going. Was back in the back half of the top 10, now starting to work his way back towards the front of the field. Timmy Solomito trying to follow him through as he works his way under Burt Myers and now goes to work on Bobby Santos. in that 36 car. Behind them, Justin Bonsignor, Andy Seiss, Patrick Emmerling won a race here earlier this year in that 07, run the All-Star race. We'll try to stay in touch with the leaders here as he's the back part of the top 10.
After 25 laps, McKennedy the leader, Doug Coby second, Eric Goodale third, Anthony Nocella fourth, Ron Silk is fifth, Bobby Santos is sixth, Timmy Salamito seventh, Burt Myers eighth, Justin Bonsignor ninth, and Andy Seiss rounds out the top 10. Only 25 now, 26 laps of the Musket 250 complete. They've got a ways to go, but they're starting to string it out a little bit up there in the front. Most comfortable lead of the afternoon right now for John McKennedy in that number 7.
And McKennedy going to be working his way towards lap cars. We've got a couple of them here. Wade Cole, problems early in that 33 car, not the run he was looking for, and Craig Lutz right there in the 46. That'll be the first car. Those will be the first cars that McKennedy comes up on, along with Doug Coby, as they work their way down the backstretch. Probably be a lap or two before they run those two down. In front of them, Mike Willis making his first start with the Whelen Modified Series in that 38 entry. As John McKennedy starts to work his way into some lap traffic here in the early going. Other than a quick spin here in the first lap or two, it's been clean and green for the first 28 laps here of the Musket 250.
Doug Coby riding along in second place keeps McKennedy in view as he has a comfortable second. Eric Goodale in that number 58 as the caution flag comes out. Debris here on the front stretch is bringing out the caution flag. So yellow comes out after 29 laps of the Musket 250. This will close them all up at this point as we're under caution for debris here on the front stretch. And they'll get them all lined up for the restart. Well, John McKennedy has had a, we'll call it, comfortable lead. Doug Coby has kept him in view, but no need for anybody to panic at this point because we got quite a ways to go. But McKennedy definitely setting the pace. He was our second fastest qualifier here yesterday when the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour qualified.
Pit's not open just yet. Looks like we'll go around one more time before we open pit road. John McKennedy out at the front of the field. One of the advantages he's got here is his car owner, Tommy Baldwin. A lot of these crew chiefs on these cars have never run more than 150 laps. Tommy Baldwin, of course, has crew chief wins in the Monster Energy Cup Series, so knows about the strategy, knows about how to plan ahead and keep his driver calm for a long race, an extra distance race, if you will. So John McKennedy leaning on the knowledge and experience of his car owner here as he leads in the early going of this Musket 250.
Little different setup in this race as far as wave around cars and so forth. I think Joe Koss can tell us a little bit more about it as he was briefed on it by the NASCAR officials.
Yeah, Pete, we are used to seeing the wave around rule in effect when we watch the Cup Series, the Xfinity Series, the Gander Outdoor Truck Series compete at the national level. But here in the Whelen Modified Tour, that's not something that is normally done. Usually they have the lucky dog or the beneficiary where the first car a lap down behind the race leader gets that lap back. Well, today, if you don't pit and the leader does, and you're between the pace car and the leader, you get a wave around. You get to come back around and join at the tail end of the field, but you just can't pit under that round of pit stop. So that's a little bit of a thing that the crew chiefs were asking multiple questions about during the drivers' meeting earlier today because it's not a rule that they normally have, but it will keep more cars on the lead lap as the race goes on, which changes the strategy as you look back towards last year and how this race has played out. We will see some activity down here on pit lane, all the cars making their way down pit road now. A lot of the teams trying to see if they can get a little bit of fuel in these race cars, just like we saw earlier in the K&N Pro Series East. Same story. You can take fuel or tires on a pit stop. You can't do both, but these are all live stops. They can make adjustments. First car off the pit lane will be credited with that position. Cars on pit road, including Bobby Santos in the number 36, he was complaining that the car was just a little bit too tight, so we'll make a spring adjustment there on that machine. Doug Kobe down and away. No adjustments there on the 2 car for Kobe. Fuel only. Same thing for Justin Bonsignor. He'll be second off pit lane. Bonsignor said, my car's just a little bit too loose. His crew chief Ryan Stone came out the radio and said, that's okay. We're going to let it be the way it is. We just saw the General Tire rubber on the racetrack for the K&N Pro Series. When we get our Hoosier rubber on the track will tighten up naturally, so I'm not going to worry about this setup. I'm just going to get you fuel. And Justin Bonsignor goes second off pit road.
Yeah, good call there by the crew chief to make note of that. The fact that got to give the track a little time to come in. And as Joe said, crew chief says, like, we got to work in this Hoosier rubber a little bit on the track. So not time to make any heavy adjustments at this point. See what the car is doing a little bit later on.
Greg Watson back on pit road, guys, after he was toward the tail end of the field. Remember, he had to pay that pass-through penalty after that last caution. They put left side rubber on only on the number 46 machine. Sticker tires for him. And one of the only cars that take tires. Remember, he took fuel under the last stop. He got a little bit of an advantage over everybody as far as that calculation goes. Now they take tires. They were already behind the 8 ball. Now their idea is to try to be off sequence of everybody else and see how that plays out at the end of 250 laps.
I think you have a similar situation going on down there with Chris Pastriak in the number 75. An extended stop for Andy Seiss in the number 82. He was on pit road for quite a while. Pastriak came back in for tires. Car stalled. They gave it a push. He's back underway, but also stalled down there on pit road is the 18 of Ken Heggie. The crew was trying to push it to get it started. Now he'll get a push from Wade Cole in the 33 to try and get restarted and make it back out onto the racetrack. So we got some cars that are still trying to get out there, as meanwhile the field is making its way into turn 4. Pace car gets ready to pull off, and we'll get ready to complete 33 laps when they come by this time. As they make their way out of the turn, green flag goes back in the air. Now Anthony Nocella starting alongside of John McKennedy by virtue of the race off of pit road. He is battling with Justin Bonsignor in a race for the 2nd spot as they head out of turn 2 and down the backstretch.
Yeah, Ken Hagee's car stopped down in the road course portion of turn number 1, the little wee-wah down there that they go through. Ken Hagee's number 18 is stopped down there. We'll see if they throw the caution for that, if they deem him out of the way. Wade Cole was pushing him down pit road, but the car just would not fire. No caution as of yet, as Hagee's 18 car continues to sit down there. As the field streams through turn number 1 out onto the back straightaway, John McKennedy, second verse, same as the first, goes to the lead. Justin Bonsignor up into second. Don't believe he pitted on that round of pit stops. And in the 3rd position, looks like Ron Silk now as the field makes their way back out onto the front straightaway.
Yeah, 3 wide, and look out. Anthony Nocella in the number 92 gets into the left front of Timmy Solomito. They were going 3 wide out there. The 54, Tommy Catalano, took it way down low. And when he came back up on the track, Nocella had to take some evasive action and just clipped the front of the X6 of Solomito, but everybody was able to make it through. That is some tight racing right there, as we see Patrick Emmerling trying to get around the bottom. But Woody Pitcat in that number 1 this weekend. His new ride for Eddie Harvey, and giving it a good run. Meanwhile, here is Doug Kobe getting around Bobby Santos further up towards the front of the field. The 21 on the move of Chuck Hosfeld. Hosfeld's been a winner here at New Hampshire in the past. And he works the inside of Matt Swanson in the number 3. Now drifts up the racetrack. Everybody's able to get around him. Swanson's got Rob Summers in the 64 and Anthony Nocella all nose to tail. That's some tight racing here as they work the outside of Hosfeld's 21.
Out at the front of the field, John McKennedy did not pit. Leads the way as they head back to turn number 3. Justin Bonsignor in second, the first of our point contenders, with Ron Silk right there behind him, then Doug Kobe. And funny how the cream rises to the top. The top 3 points getters out in front. Bobby Santos in Sapienza's 36 car getting past now. Matt Swanson will pick up a position. Summers right there behind him. Then it is Nocella and the first of the Catalano family. and Timmy Solomito in that X6. That group nose to tail down the back straightaway.
Yeah, quite a freight train of modifieds on the backstretch as they are content to just get up into line and to follow each other. We talk often about how the draft comes into play here at New Hampshire for these cars, and you're much better off to have a drafting partner with you to advance to the front. If you're left out there by yourself, you're not going to have the kind of speed as you would with a car behind you. So
don't tell John McKennedy that right now, as he's doing it all by himself and absolutely driving away from this field. Be interesting to see what happens if these front three, the 3 points getters, Bonsignor and Silk and Kobe, can team up. Will they be able to run him down?
Yeah, well, he has set sail, and he's been strong since the drop of the green here this afternoon. We're already 40 laps into the Musket 250, but that battle, watching Santos and Rob Summers, Anthony Nocella, Tommy Catalano, they are all nose to tail, as now we take a look at the battle for second. Justin Bonsignor and the 85 of Ron Silk. They're running right together, and behind them, the 2 of Doug Kobe. So as you pointed out, Andy, you got the guys atop the point standings all running together out there, but you're only 41 laps into the 250. So we've got a ways to go, and there's all kinds of drama that could play out before this thing is done. We know that from last year's race for sure, but spirited battle out there right now between Bonsignor's 51 and Silk in the 85.
Anthony Nocella just picked up a spot in that 92. Nocella paving entries. He moved around a couple of cars, picked up a couple of spots, got around Bobby Santos. Tommy Catalano following him through as Santos falling back just a little bit. Timmy Solomito will be the next guy to try to get around. Here comes Woody Pitcat on the bottom. Drives that one car down to the inside of Chuck Hosfeld. Now going to try to work to the inside on Solomito. As further forward, Silk will pick up a spot. He works his way around Bonsignor as those front three continue to, or those top 3 point guys continue to duke it out behind McKennedy.
Yeah, Silk made a great move down underneath Bonsignor, saw the opportunity, drove underneath and slid up in front of him. So he has picked up that spot. The number 85 takes Bonsignor with him. And then right behind Bonsignor is the guy that he is chasing for the championship, and that's Doug Kobe in the number 2, our pole sitter here today. Kobe, who had run second in the first stages of this race, still up there within the top 5 in races with Justin Bonsignor. Of course, that point lead, that 19 points coming into the weekend, really tightened up last time they ran at the Riverhead Speedway. Doug Kobe did not have the kind of night he was looking for. Thought that he might at least salvage a top 5 out of it, and then got into a skirmish late in the race and was mired back in the finishing positions. Bonsignor, of course, won it. Bonsignor had won the last couple, Oswego and Riverhead, and that shortened that point lead of Kobe's down to 19 points. Kobe said earlier this weekend that he wished it was still 35 or 36 points, but at 19, he's still in the lead, and he's going to go for it. So that is quite a battle we got going for the championship. On the racetrack, Woody Pitcat makes a move in the number 1, and it is tight further on back. Pitcat in the number 1, and behind him a pretty good battle as well. Timmy Solomito out in front of him. Craig Lutz in the 46 as they race side by side down here across the stripe.
Lutz doing a nice job moving back forward, and Woody Pitcat definitely the man on the move in the first chunk before that first caution, or second caution rather. Andy Seiss had made a bunch of moves. He was making his way up through the field doing a nice job. Evidently some sort of problem on that car. I believe the debris caution was for Seiss's air cleaner. They put a new one on it, and Seiss just has been able to do absolutely nothing. So something going on with that 82 for Danny Watts. Tough break for Seiss, as that car is just a little bit off the pace right now as Kobe works his way around Bonsignor. That is a battle for position and a battle of championship point getters, as Ronnie Silk has checked out on those two and trying to run down John McKennedy for the lead now.
Yeah, Kobe and Bonsignor, they'll trade those positions back and forth here as the afternoon goes on, and try to keep the leaders at least within sight as they turn some quick laps here around New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Kobe has passed Bonsignor and started to pull away, but again, he's got to cover some real estate if he's going to track down Ron Silk, who's kind of all by himself. And meanwhile, the leader has checked out into another zip code, John McKennedy in that number 7. Pass for position on the number 64. Good run for Rob Summers as he gets around Bonsignor and picks up a spot. So far, good afternoon for Summers aboard that Dell Electric, Lumineer Electric number 64. He won the pole at Oswego, and so his program is really picked up here in the afternoon. Joe?
When it comes to the Robbie Summers number 64, something to think about, Pete, is that the crew chief of that car is Stephen Kopchik. And Stephen Kopchik was the crew chief for Chase Dowling here in the Musket 250 just 1 year ago. He was able to lead that team to victory. Kind of interesting because Kopchik is a younger crew chief, and he's trying to coach experienced guys who have been in the motorsports industry a lot longer than he has, with a very experienced driver in the former Robbie Summers. But you noted success in Oswego just a few weeks ago on the Labor Day weekend. Good qualifying effort for that team. Performance is getting better for them, and Stephen Kopchik, I think, has a lot to do with that. Young, but certainly exhibiting some great leadership skills here in his second full year as a wheel modified tour crew chief.
Good to know, and definitely good for Rob Summers, and that's showing right now in that number 64. Summers up to the 3rd spot as we watch Justin Bonsignor lose another spot, this time to Anthony Nocella. And now Bonsignor being hounded by Matt Swanson in the number 3. So Bonsignor setting a pace, keeping it comfortable, not worried about being in contention up at the front at this point, and has given up a few spots over the last handful of laps.
Matt Swanson now makes a move down to the inside, works to the inside on Bonsignor. Bonsignor slips up the hill. Looks like the handle might be going away just a little bit on that 51 car as they make their way out onto the front straightaway, nose to tail, drafting along, trying to move in on the guys in front of them, namely Anthony Nocella, as McKennedy continues to show the way.
Andy, remember with that 51 at Justin Bonsignor, we had that caution around lap 40 for these teams, lap 30, and they came down pit road. Ryan Stone, the crew chief, was one of the only guys on pit road that were complaining of a loose race car that did not make an adjustment to their car on that 51. Now, as the sun angle changes on the racetrack, the temperature of the track changes, the day starts to move around a little bit. Car gets a little worn out on those tires. The handle's starting to go away for Bonsignor. But he, among some of the other teams, have their spotters calling out lap time to say, let's settle in. We still have just under 200 laps to go in this race. Make sure that we're calm, we're in position. We're still running pretty good inside the top 5. And just keep a good steady pace here when we've got the opportunity. We can come back down pit road and see if we can improve the handling on the race car for you.
Bonsignor has fallen into the clutches of a guy who started out having a bad day, Craig Lutz, in that number 46. He just passes Bonsignor to pick up a spot, and Lutz goes to the 8th position, solidly inside the top 10 now after he had been even a pass-through penalty down on pit road, but he's back into contention again. They've been having a pretty good latter part of the season with that number 46, and it looks like he's gotten back into rhythm. Now the 21, Hosfeld goes around Bonsignor, and Bonsignor under attack from Woody Pitcat in the number 1. Right behind them, the defending winner of this race, Chase Dowling, just ahead of out there in the number 99, of course, the Tomeno car. Dowling looking to make a move on Bonsignor, as Woody Pitcat does. So again, some change of position further back in the field. We're talking about just inside the top 10.
And Joe told you that that's a 51 car getting loose. You can see it as he tries to get off the corner. When he is on throttle, that car gets very loose on him. He has to work very hard to keep that car underneath him. Now about to lose another spot to Timmy Solomito. Solomito moves by, and that Stefanik tribute car, the X6, and picks up another spot. Now Bonsignor under fire from, looks like Sam Ramo, the young rookie in the 06, trying to pick up a spot as Bonsignor continues to tumble through the field back to 13th now. And he is going to be screaming for some new tires the next time the caution comes out. I am fairly certain he will not let them leave pit road without putting tires on that 51 car.
Sure, as the leader flashes across the stripe. We're talking about John McKennedy, who's been stout from the beginning. McKennedy with now a 3-second lead over Ron Silk. Rob Summers runs third. Tommy Catalano is fourth. Doug Kobe is fifth. Anthony Nocella is sixth. Craig Lutz is up to seventh. Matt Swanson is eighth. Chuck Hosfeld is ninth. And Woody Pitcat rounds out the top 10 with 60 laps complete of the Musket 250.
And through all of this, still looks like 22 cars still on the lead lap, all the way back to Chris Pasteryak and Calvin Carroll. Amy Catalano and Mike Willis, the first cars one lap down, as those two continue to run in the top 25. Front of the field, quick rundown: John McKennedy, Ron Silk, Tommy Catalano, Rob Summers, and Doug Kobe are the top 5 as they run. 6 through 10, Anthony Nocella, Craig Lutz, Matt Swanson, Chuck Hosfeld, and Woody Pitcat running inside the top 10 still, as we are 62 laps into the 250 laps that make up the Musket 250 here with the Whelen Modified Series, as this their penultimate, not the final event of the season, but certainly the biggest. This essentially their Daytona 500 here in 2019, as it looks like Amy Catalano comes to a stop over there in turn number 3. We'll see if the caution comes out for her, as she is stopped over there on that infield road course. And yes, the caution comes out. She's not in a good spot. A spinning car down the backstretch could be catastrophic there, so they will get a wrecker out there and get her moved out of the way. So problems there for Amy Catalano, as we are 63 laps into this Musket 250 now, and the third caution of the afternoon.
Yeah, under caution, and any of those guys that were looking to get in and make adjustments, this caution comes at a good time for that. And we've been talking about Justin Bonsignor and the fact that, as Joe reported, the car needing some adjustments. They were waiting on it.
Melissa Fifield already on pit road, down at the north end of pit road, coming in for some adjustments. So she will have to serve a penalty for that, as pit road is still closed. But Pete, you started to talk about Justin Bonsignor. You want to make any bets as to whether he pits here or not?
I don't know if I want to put a bet on it, because this race turns out to be so unpredictable. But yeah, he may be among the drivers that want to make an adjustment. Again, we still got quite a ways to go, but now would be the time, as it's unpredictable as to where cautions are going to fall in this race. So if the opportunity arises for somebody like Bonsignor to go to pit road, we'll have to see. 51 cruises around behind the 06 of Sam Ramo. Of course, we talked about it all afternoon long, and the fight that Bonsignor has to maintain the championship that he won last year, and had closed within 19 points to Doug Kobe, and thought a good finish here this weekend could help close that gap even further. But Modifieds have 2 races to go after this one. They'll go to the Stafford Motor Speedway and wind it up in October, as they always do, the annual World Series of Racing at the Thompson Motorsport Park in October. So as we see the green flag get displayed on pit road, the opportunity for those that care to come for service will do so. And we see the leader peel off in John McKennedy. Ron Silk's down there, Tommy Catalano, Rob Summers. A lot of the front runners are there, and so is Joe Koss.
All the teams making their way down pit road. You are going to see a mix of strategies here on this round of pit stops. John McKennedy, one of the first to hit his pit stall. They will go ahead and around to the left side, put some fuel in the race leader. It's his first time on pit road all afternoon here today in New Hampshire, and he will certainly take the opportunity to get some fuel. Now remember, you can take fuel or tires. Some of these guys are going to come take fuel now. They're going to come back around, and the next time by, they're going to put tires on it. But that's not the case for Doug Kobe. His car is lacking grip in that number 2 machine. It'll be a 4-tire stop, no fuel for the 2 of Kobe. Also in on pit road, Justin Bonsignor did not make any of those adjustments. As we thought would be the case, it would be a 3-tire change for Justin Bonsignor. You really don't need that left front tire here in these modifieds. It'll be 3 tires for Justin Bonsignor. They'll make a quick stop, but they got boxed into their pit stall by the machine in front of them, the 85 Arani Silk. A little slow getting off pit road for the 51, even slower off pit road for the 2 at Doug Kobe. He will drop to the tail end of the cars that came down pit road.
Yeah, I'll tell you who was out of there pretty quick was John McKennedy, as he came right back out of the pits in that number 7 and benefited from that stop, was able to come out on top. But the reason that he get out so quick and came back around is because he wants to go back down there, just as you described, Joe, coming down this time to change tires possibly, or at least make some adjustments. Joe?
Yeah, it'll be tires this time for John McKennedy. There's one other race on tour that they do this rule where it really comes into play, and that's at Stafford Motor Speedway, that summer race in August. They allow the teams to change only 1 tire per pit stop, so you'll see multiple rounds of pit stops on one particular caution. On pit lane, the X6 for Timmy Solomito will be right side tires for him. Again, another car that just didn't have the grip that they were hoping to have into the racetrack at this point in the race. Also back in on pit road, right side tires going to be going on the 36 of Bobby Santos, trying to get that car to turn a little bit better in the corner. 58, Eric Goodale is on pit road, and quick service for the 70 York. He gets off a pit lane for John McKennedy, the 21 machine. Chuck Hausfeld down and away. Quick pit stop for both of those teams as well.
And for Kobe as well, who came in and appeared to just take fuel that time as he came back around again. Service continues on Anthony Nocella's number 92, going to the left side tires on that car. A little bit of a elongated stop for the Nocella paving crew. Again, looking to make an adjustment on the car and tires on the left side.
Hard, Pete, to really identify which team had a slow stop and which team had a fast stop, because one of the reasons we identified that first time through, John McKennedy said, I'm taking fuel only. I'm going to get off pit lane ahead of everybody else. I'll have a clean exit on pit road, and then I'm going to come back down a second time to get my tires when there's fewer cars on pit road, fewer cars in my way. He was clean on and off pit road. We talked about Doug Kobe. He did just the opposite. It was tires first for Kobe. He got boxed in on pit lane, went to the back, then came fuel for the second stop. On pit road, the 4-car of Burt Myers just sewed up that 10th championship over there at Bowman Gray Stadium, where he is certainly a Hall of Famer. He will come in left side tires only for the 4 of Burt Myers.
Great observation there, Joe, about the fact that when it's crowded, we'll come in and do a different service than take tires and come around the next time when there's less cars on pit road, so we got plenty of room to move around, and that was the case for a number of the guys. Now they are re-racked and ready for the restart. The Toyota pace car makes its way down below the yellow line and is headed for pit road. We're headed for a restart, and we'll complete 68 of 250 laps as the green flag goes back in the air, and this time Matt Swanson gets the jump on the outside pole position in the number 3, and he'll lead him down into turn 1.
Brave move on the brake part of Craig Lutz, moved up behind Matt Swanson into a hole that was just about big enough for a race car. Made it work there as Catalano gave him a break and let him in. As now it looks like Rob Summer in fourth there in that 64 car, settling in the line as the front 4 going to try to break away. Craig Lutz drops to the inside now. He'll take over the top spot in that 46, coming all the way back from that early spin when it looked like his day might end early. He has come back. He has now taken the lead here in that 46 machine. Matt Swanson right there behind him, and it's Catalano and Summers with Chris Pastriak up into the 5th spot now.
Yeah, amazing to think that Craig Lutz can lead this lap with damage on the front of that race car when it looks so bleak for him in the early going in this race. But yes, it zips across the stripe and leads that lap, but he's got plenty of competition. Here's the 54 of Tommy Catalano working down underneath him, trying to take the spot away. Swanson stays within striking distance. Rob Summers in the number 64. Tough break for Timmy Solomito. He's back on pit road, as is the 14 of Blake Barney. But the leaders work the 3rd and 4th turn. It's Craig Lutz still out in front. Talked about the fact that they've had a pretty good program here in the late stages of the 2019 season, and it's continuing here this afternoon as they are nose to tail from the leader on back.
Ronnie Silk, not learning from his earlier mistakes. It's back to the bottom of the racetrack where that 85 car just does not appear to work. Had a run there on Pasteryak and then has backed up several spots. Here comes John McKennedy picking up spots as he works his way forward. McKennedy in that 7 car trying to get back to the front where that car was so fast by itself. They're ahead of Silk, then Emmerling, Hosfeld, and Kobe right there behind him.
He'll take his time working his way through there, as again, they're all in a straight line off the second turn and down the backstretch. The question is, who will duck out of line to make a pass? You got to make it work, because as you pointed out, Andy, you get mired on the bottom of the racetrack and they're just going to whistle on by you on the outside. And here they come again out of turn number 4. And yet another lap led by Craig Lutz, but right on the back bumper, giving him a good push down the front stretch, is young Matt Swanson in the number 3.
Well, those front 3 kind of working together a little bit there. Lutz and Swanson and Summers, all of those three could desperately use a good run here in this race. But the front 3 all working together, nobody making any moves. Now Catalano going to join that group. And a nice run going here in the early part of this race for Chris Pasteryak, the second-generation driver. Father Charlie, Uncle Carl, both former tour drivers, both with some success. And Chris Pasteryak has won several championships in other modified series, coming back home here to the Whelen Modified Series and running 5th here in the Musket 250 with Justin Bonsignor hot on his tail, followed by McKennedy, Silk, and Patrick Emmerling picking up spots as well.
Yeah, work on the bottom of the racetrack here out of turn number 4. That's a pretty good move, trying to make it work. Doesn't have any draft partners. That's Doug Kobe in the number 2. He'll try to get back up in the line, but does gets behind Hosfeld in the number 21.
Well, Pete, just a quick update on that 3 car for Matt Swanson. Yesterday, that team had carburetor problems, so they didn't have as much practice time as they would have liked. They knew that the car was going to be good, just as fast as it was here in July when he put a pretty good show together, but they weren't quite sure about how this 250-lap race was going to play out for them from a strategy standpoint. A year ago, this team went 7 laps only, and they were not able to go far enough to really learn anything in this race. So tonight, they got the opportunity to certainly put that to the test. Looking pretty sporty up there at the front of the field. Matt Swanson trying to make the bottom side work. He said, that's where I want to go if I can.
A thrill of a lifetime right there for Matt Swanson as he leads the field down into turn 3 in that famous number 3. He's got Craig Lutz with him and Rob Summers, and another one that thrilled to be at the front, Tommy Catalano in the number 54. Here's Lutz again ducking out of line and looking to make a move on Matt Swanson going down into turn 1. Keeps it on the low side, able to make the pass, pulls back up in front of Swanson, and will lead him down the backstretch. Again, not unusual to see tons of lead changes here as they work our way through that 3rd and 4th turn. Down on the bottom, trying it again, is Ron Silk in the number 85. He pulls it back up in front of the rest of the field and gets back into line, and again, that's what we'll see as now a change of position for the lead. Rob Summers wants a shot at it in that number 64. He goes to the bottom, takes Tommy Catalano with him. They are nose to tail down into the 3rd turn. Catalano working the inside, and Summers pushes up the racetrack in the middle of the turn, opens it for Catalano, and he will lead that lap. So Tommy Catalano leads a lap here of the Musket 250.
Not sure if Doug Kobe's having problems in car number 2, but about 3 or 4 laps ago made a huge move right around the bottom of turn 3 and 4 and has backed up ever since. That car just does not seem to be where Kobe wants it right now. Kobe very patient, knows this is a long race, has at least 1 more pit stop, if not 2, so settling in there behind the rookie Sam Ramo, having a nice run up in the top 10. Ramo in that 06 car having a nice showing as he pops out of line and will try to put a move on Chris Pasteryak.
Catalano in front, a little tap from Rob Summers as they came down the front stretch. Change of position over there as Craig Lutz gets back up into the 3rd spot. And here comes John McKennedy making a move down on the bottom. McKennedy, the early leader of this race, trying to fight his way back up to the front, working the bottom of the racetrack. Again, difficult to do when you don't have somebody with you in the draft, and he couldn't make the pass. He'll pull back up behind Matt Swanson. apologize to our viewers that we've lost our monitor here for the television part of this, so we will call it as we see it on the track, as John McKennedy again trying to make another move down on the inside of the number 3, and McKennedy does pick up a spot that time.
Rob Summers in that 64 has had a very successful career. He's won races here in Whelen Modified Series, also won races in the International Super Modified Association. Summers, the son of the folks that own Hoosier Tire, the New England portion of Hoosier Tire, and Rob Summers having a very nice run, arguably his best run of the season. As Summers out in front of Catalano, those two trying to check out, and Craig Lutz and car number 7, John McKennedy, trying to separate themselves from the group behind them and run down that front 2 as well.
Yeah, McKennedy continues his charge to the front. He got around Craig Lutz and goes into the 3rd spot, now giving chase to Catalano and Rob Summers. Meanwhile, the number 3 of Matt Swanson, who led this a few laps back, feeling the heat from Justin Bonsignor in the number 51. Bonsignor takes a look underneath Swanson down into turn 1, makes the pass and slides up in front of him.
Eric Goodale up on the outside of Patrick Emmerling. Those two battling it out for position. Emmerling slides up the racetrack. Goodale going to try to cross him over. Can't make that work, as those two duking it out behind Ronnie Silk. Emmerling out of New York, a multi-time winner on the Race of Champions Modified Tour. Behind those two, Chuck Hosfeld in the 21, the Gershon Motorsports entry. That was supposed to be a 2-car team here. Tough break, J.R. Bertuccio. And a tough deal in qualifying yesterday. Got up into the wall and hurt that car badly enough that it was unable to compete here today. So Chuck Hosfeld, the lone entry in that 21 car.
We now see Justin Bonsignor in the number 51. He made the pass on Craig Lutz a few laps ago and is in that position. He leads that train of modifieds down the backstretch. That's sort of the second group of cars. The front 3 have kind of checked out. In the front, Rob Summers in the 64, Tommy Catalano in the 54. Running in the 2nd spot, and John McKennedy trying to advance to get back to the point. Those 3 cars are off turn 2 and down the backstretch.
Kind of wondering about strategy on the part of some of these guys. Burt Myers in that black number 4 had been running at the front of the field before that last pit stop. Is he just riding around saving his stuff, or did that pit stop not go so well? Did they maybe make an adjustment that didn't work out for them? Opposite story for Sam Ramo. Rode around kind of in the back half of the field until the pit stop. Now he is picking up some spots. Ramo pops out of line, and he will pick up a position right in front of him. Eric Goodale goes to work on Patrick Emmerling, and then it's Ron Silk in front of them as he goes to work on Matt Swanson in that 3 cars, that front group. Now John McKennedy joining that front pair. McKennedy led so many of the early laps. Now he is running down Tommy Catalano, and we'll go to work on him for the 2nd position as Rob Summers continues to show the way.
Yeah, you mentioned that strategy for sure, and you know, as the spotters rattle off the laps and the times to the drivers, I'm sure in their mind they have a plan that they will put into place as to when they've got to make certain moves. We're just completing 90 laps of the Musket 250 as they cross the stripe this time, and now we see that battle once again. Momentarily we saw the 07 of Emmerling, the 85 of Silk, Goodale in the 58, Sam Ramo in the 06. There's Goodale with a move down on the bottom, putting the moves on the 85 of Ron Silk, and he picks up a spot. Meanwhile, lead back to the leaders through the 1st and 2nd turn. That's Rob Summers. Tommy Catalano, as we like to say, keeping him honest, staying right with him as they race down the backstretch. And watching them from the third spot is John McKennedy.
And those top three coming up on some really good race cars. Woody Pitcat in that Eddie Harvey-owned number 1. That is a Farmer Southern Modified Tour Championship team is that number 1. And he is going a lap down. The other guy is Timmy Solomito in that X6, the Flamengo Motorsports entry. That team typically runs pretty well here, and they are significantly off the pace as Solomito tries to keep up enough pace to stay in front of that front group and not go a lap down, as Woody Pitcat has just done in the 1 car.
Fair amount of traffic for the leaders as they work around the 18 of Ken Hagee. And just after going a lap down, Woody Pitcat takes the number 1 down onto pit road. No doubt in need of service, and he will go to the attention of his crew. His pit stall just beyond the start-finish line. And it looks like left rear tire going on that number 1 of Pitcat.
Pitcat very animated inside that machine. The arms waving around as he dropped the jack, and Pitcat is away, but he'll be at least 2 laps down here as he rejoins the field.
Yeah, it's tough when you are working your way down pit road at 45 miles an hour and these guys are flying on by it well over 100 miles an hour. You feel the pain as you have to maintain that speed, or you're coming right back down pit road.
Yeah, that 45 miles an hour has got to seem like absolutely a snail's pace, especially as those guys are going down the front stretch at 125 miles an hour.
Pretty good battle here with Matt Swanson in the number 3, Craig Lutz in the 46. They are running nose to tail. Emmerling in the 07, and Doug Colby pulled out a line. Looked like he was going to make a move on Emmerling, but instead Emmerling pulls out a line, and he does the hole shot there right underneath both Craig Lutz and the 3 of Matt Swanson. Makes it work too. Gets by both of them in the turn, slides up in front of them, and picks up 2 spots with that 1 move.
Yeah, that was a really impressive move. Emmerling's got a really strong race car right now in that 07. He drove down into turn number 3 and just left it on the bottom of the racetrack. Doug Colby now going to try to make a move on Craig Lutz as they head back into turn number 3. Colby up the hill in front of Lutz. A little bit of a slide job. Lutz going to drop down. Not going to be able to make that work. And they will settle into line as they head down the front straightaway. Goodale right behind them, looking for somewhere to go. And then that young rookie, Sam Ramo, doing a nice job here in his first season of competition with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
Within a couple of laps of the normal distance of a NASCAR Whelen main event, we'll be clicking off 100 laps here momentarily as we've completed 97 of the 250. Now 98 as they cross the stripe. Woody Pitcat comes back into the pit and no doubt serves a penalty as he has to come down and make a stop right by the his pit stall, and is able to keep going. But his day has gone from bad to worse in the Eddie Harvey number 1. Looking at the competitors working the 3rd and 4th turn right now. Doug Colby in the number 2, currently in the 6th position. Right behind him, Matt Swanson, Craig Lutz, Sam Ramo, and Eric Goodale. There is the 64 of Rob Summers. Continues to lead the field with Tommy Catalano right with him in the number 54. Got to go back a handful of car lengths to get to our 3rd place runner, John McKennedy. And about twice the distance of that to get back to Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor, who runs in the 4th spot. But a pretty spirited battle for the lead as they head down the backstretch. Summers in that 64. Catalano in the 54.
Just to give you an idea, last time at the straight, 0.096 seconds the gap, less than 1/10 of a second the gap at the stripe. So these two very evenly matched, going at it here as we are 101 laps into this 250 lap affair. Musket 250 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I want to thank all of you joining us on Fans Choice TV and all of you hanging out in the grandstands. for what is turning out to be a pretty exciting little event here.
It is, and as we said, now with less than 150 laps to go, this has been interesting from the drop of the green flag, but the drama will increase as we continue to click off the laps. Speaking of drama, we saw John McKennedy starting to close in on those leaders. Eric Goodale with a good run going in the 58, just ahead of Craig Lutz. Eric Goodale in the 8th spot. The 7th spot in that number 58. Lutz in 8th. And Matt Swanson in 9th. Those cars just inside the top 10.
Maybe just a hair early to start talking about it, but teams that might be thinking about some green flag pit stops, this thing, a lot of green flag laps going off here, and if we get to the point where green flag laps become a part of the strategy of this race, it could get very interesting as to what teams do and how they handle things. Sam Ramo down to the inside on Matt Swanson there. Ramo picking up another spot. The young man from Massachusetts doing a very nice job in that 06.
Picking up on the point that you made, Andy, a couple of minutes ago, probably another 60 laps or so if they did have to go for green flag pit stops.
I don't think that's going to happen, Pete. We've got one stopped over on the back straightaway. Believe that's one of the Catalano cars. Not 100% for sure of that, but I believe that's Timmy Catalano.
Yeah, the 54 of Tommy Catalano, who was running second behind Rob Summers, and not sure what that situation is. The car is just stopped.
He's clearly done. Window net's down. He's taking the gloves off. So tough break there for Tommy Catalano.
Yeah, tough for sure, as he'll have to get pushed back around to to pit road. But obviously, it's something that he feels is at least not going to be an easy fix, because as you said, window net down, gloves are off, and he'll get pushed back around. So we're under caution, lap 106 of 250 for the Muscat 250. We'll see how busy it gets on pit road. And at this point, this could make a difference for some of these guys. We talked about the fact that we now have less than 150 laps to go, which tends to be sort of the normal distance of some of the main events that the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour runs. Of course, not on a track of this size, so still a lot of miles to go in this one. If you break it out into miles as opposed to laps, we're just over a mile in distance here on the Magic Mile. And pit road is open. The cars are on pit road, and Joe Koss is standing by.
One of the cars that'll come down pit lane once again under this round of pit stops is that 7 of York for John McKennedy, pitting out of the 2nd spot. The first time through, they're going to go ahead and take fuel. Sunoco Racing Gas will pull a tear off the windshield. Scott Allen will do that honors as well. They'll make a quick chassis adjustment, putting some wedge into the right rear of the 7 of York here for John McKennedy. Pack it full of fuel, 37 laps on that run. Go get the calculators out and go ahead and see what it's going to be doing. You can see on the Sunoco gas cans going in all the left rears of all these automobiles down here on pit lane. Some making some adjustments, and among them, Ronnie Silk. He felt that his car, just like many of the others on track, just a little bit too loose, trying to get that car dialed in, that 85 car. He says he'll take fuel and take right side tires when they come back around. They'll make 2 stops here on this round of pit stops.
Yeah, we'll wait and see when they come around. Justin Bonsignor was able to get out of there first, with John McKennedy second, Sam Ramo third, and Doug Kobe fourth off of pit road. Some of the rest of the cars come back out. You know, we talked about the situation for Tommy Catalano and what a disappointment that was, as he got pushed right back into the garage area. Now we see one car that elected to come back down pit road. That is the 2 of Doug Kobe. The rest of those cars that pitted on the last time around stay out on the racetrack. Kobe headed for his pit stall down towards the first turn area.
Hey, Pete, it looks like that team's going to do a pass-through as they go right on by. Now the crew hops up on the wall. They put the jack in hand, but possibly just preparing for the next time around. How about Ronnie Silk? He's back on pit road. He took right-side tires here when they came down pit road the first time. This time they'll put Sunoco Racing fuel into the side of that automobile, try to get it packed full of fuel. This is a brand-new race car. They have never brought it to the racetrack until this weekend, and it looks pretty good here today, but they did have a problem on that pit stop. On the right side, they think that they might have only gotten 4 lug nuts tight. One of them got jammed up, but they think it's good enough to hold it on there and not be a problem for Ronnie Silk. So a little bit of a slow stop on the right side on the tires, but they come back down here and get some fuel for the 85.
Interesting that all these teams pit here as they cannot go to the end. We have a 90-lap fuel window, so we were about 30 or 35 laps into that last run, and now they will not be able to go to the end. So teams pitting at every opportunity they get. So in a lot of cases to dial the cars in. As Joe said, some of these cars just not handling the way they need them to. So using this opportunity to make adjustments and make their cars drive better.
And Andy, I think part of that is the fact that you go 37 laps on a green flag run. You only have about 60 more, maybe 50 comfortably that you know you can go on the balance of that tank of fuel. The problem is, what if you don't get a caution within 50 laps? You have just spoiled your opportunity to win. So when there's a chance to come down pit road, you go ahead and take advantage of it. You get your tires. Now, we've seen these guys put a lot of tires on their race cars. Today, they started the race, they had 12 tires they could work with. The 4 that were on the race car and 8 change tires that they put on throughout the day. And again, you may say, well, they come down pit road multiple times. Sometimes they're taking 2 tires, and in modified racing, you really don't need to worry about the left front as much as some of the other tires. It doesn't work as hard, so they can change the 2 right side tires and the left rear tire and get away with skipping that left front. What that does is it allows you to get 2 tires that you could use later in the race and give you some options for some strategy and actually make 3 pit stops for tires. And that's some of the math and the calculations that these teams are trying to do. Conserve some of their equipment now early and then be ready at the end. So when they need that last little bit to go that final 40 or 50 laps to the checkers, they got their best stuff sitting here on the pit box.
The strategy of this thing will absolutely make your head spin. As Joe said, some guys taking 2, some guys taking 3, some guys taking 4. We've seen single tire stops, lefts, rights, 3 tires. It's keeping track of all that. These crew chiefs are taking mad notes all afternoon long. They are busy, busy people atop the pit boxes.
Hey, you guys should see my clipboard. It's pretty wild because I've got notes on about all of them, and boy, I'm running out of ink down here trying to keep track of all of it.
So the crew chiefs each have to do 1 car. Joe's got, what, 34 he's got to keep track of. Good luck with that one, pal. I hope you got plenty of paper.
Pace car takes him down the backstretch. Lights are off of the pace car, indicating we'll go green flag racing again. Craig Lutz is your leader in the number 46. Justin Bonsignor right there. Great run for Sammy Ramo. He got off pit road pretty quick in that 0-6. He will restart in the fourth position, and John McKennedy in 3rd in the number 7. Pace car peels off and gets out of the way onto pit road. We get ready to turn them loose. Green flag for Bob Slade is in the air, and they're back underway. They're side by side down into turn number 1. And Bonsignor gets the jump, takes John McKennedy with him. Those 2 will break out as they head off the second turn and down the backstretch.
It's Bonsignor and McKennedy. Craig Lutz in 3rd. And Sam Ramo going to go to school here. He's got 3 really good race car drivers right in front of him that he can learn from. Young Sam Ramo going to be watching what these guys are doing, trying to get a bit of an education. And then that new hot rod for Ron Silk right there in 5th as the cream starts to rise to the top as Bonsignor and Silk, 2 of the 3 top point getters, right there at the head of the class.
John McKennedy back at the point as he was earlier today. Trying to break the graph there a little bit as he dives down lower on the racetrack out of turn 2. Justin Bonsignor stays with him. Lutz with a good run in 3rd spot. As you mentioned, Sammy Ramo right there a little further back. Some of those cars that were up near the front, including the 3 of Matt Swanson. Challenge for the lead as McKennedy took it way down on the bottom into turn 1. Bonsignor hangs tough right with him. Now Bonsignor takes a sharp left in the middle of the backstretch and decides to drive underneath and take the spot away. Bonsignor back to the point. McKennedy to 2nd, Lutz, and right behind them, Sammy Ramo in the 0-6. He pulled. Boy, he gets up in front of Lutz. Lutz has to take evasive action and almost lost it going down there into turn one. Here are the two leaders hooking up and trying to get away. Bonsignor in the 51, McKennedy in the 7, and Ramo in the 3rd spot.
Sammy Ramo, a big move to take over the 3rd spot. This young man doing a heck of a job. Very few starts here at this racetrack and absolutely putting on a show and going to school all at the same time as he settles in behind John McKennedy, one of the best in the business in Tommy Baldwin's race car. McKennedy gives a shot to the back bumper of Justin Bonsignor as the leaders make their way into turn at number 3. And Ramo right there on the back bumper of John McKennedy. Front 3, nose to tail. As Bobby Santos has worked his way up into the 4th position. Santos gets around this place very well, doing a nice job running back here in the top 5 now.
Yeah, we haven't talked about him much, but his strategy tends to be save the car, lay back a little bit, and start coming at the end. Though we're not close to the end, he's going to be up there amongst the lead pack as John McKennedy has taken the lead back from Justin Bonsignor. He had been sort of knocking on the door, as we say, and he was able to dive down underneath Bonsignor, take the spot away. Bonsignor now feeling some pressure from Sammy Ramo as they head off a turn 2 and down the backstretch. Then right behind Ramo is Bobby Santos, and that's Sapienza, number 36.
Craig Lutz right behind them in the 46. He continues to run in the top 5. Rob Summers in the 6th position, doing a very nice job. Behind Summers in 6, Chuck Hosfeld in the 21. Patrick Emmerling, Ron Silk, and Anthony Nocella round out the top 10 as the field trying to string out and log some more laps here as we work our way towards the halfway point of this 250 lap main event.
We see Doug Kobe took a look down underneath Anthony Nocella in that number 92, and he'll do it again. Stick the nose down underneath there and try to squeeze in that space between Nocella and Burt Myers. He gets it done. Nocella with a great, Kobe with a great move underneath Nocella to take the spot. Now Kobe will go to work on Burt Myers. Does the same thing, drives down underneath, lets the car drift up in front of him and takes the spot away.
Doug Kobe trying to maintain that championship points lead as he tries to work his way back through the field after a couple of pit stops at the last caution. Next up for him will be Patrick Emmerling. And that'll be a battle for the 9th spot. Emmerling running 9th. Kobe up into the top 10 now. It's now Chuck Hosfeld feeling the heat from Ron Silk. Silk in the 85. Can't get that pass done. Those guys riding around behind Summers and Lutz.
Battle for the lead as Justin Bonsignor took a peek down underneath John McKennedy. Meanwhile, that 5th place battle that we had been watching with Rob Summers loses it to Craig Lutz. Lutz gets around him to go to 5th, Summers to 6th. Here is Silk making a move down underneath Hosfeld's number 21. Silk trying to take that spot away too. That is 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th right there, and right behind them Doug Kobe. So very tight between 5th and 10th spot. Look at that. Doug Kobe threads the needle between a lap car and makes the move to pick up another spot. Meanwhile, Bonsignor and McKennedy continue to trade the lead up front. Bonsignor back to the point. McKennedy in the 7 runs 2nd. And again, that strong run for Sammy Ramo in the 3rd spot. Here's that 5th on back battle. Rob Summers has got it back, has wrestled it back from Craig Lutz. Hosfeld in the 21. Doug Kobe trying to make something happen down on the bottom of the racetrack. Ron Silk on the outside. Can't get it done down there by himself, so he'll pull it back up in line. Meanwhile, a head of steam from Ron Silk. Silk trying to get 2 of them, and boy, he comes up the racetrack, and Craig Lutz was there. Lutz had to back out of it. Lost the spot to both Silk and Hosfeld, and a couple of more cars for that matter. That just in the sake of those 2 turns, Craig Lutz goes back about 3 or 4 spots with that one move.
Bonsignor, McKennedy, Sam Ramo, the top three. Santos and Summers rounding out the top five. Silk, Hosfeld, Kobe, Swanson, and Lutz inside the top 10, as now Hosfeld pulls up in the back bumper of Doug Kobe. Thought about making a move, but Wade Cole's lap down car at the bottom of the racetrack, that 33, will negotiate their way around him. So Kobe will hold on to the spot in front of Hosfeld and Matt Swanson right there as he tries to work his way back toward the front in Old Blue.
Yeah, this has been quite a battle for fifth. Silk stalking the 64 of Rob Summers, and he's finally able to make the move down on the inside and takes over that spot. Now he'll give chase to the top four as we get another change for the lead once again. McKennedy makes the move down underneath Bonsignor and takes it back. So these guys have traded it back and forth since the drop of the green flag after the last caution. And they have hooked up together, though they keep trading off the lead. At least together they can try to get away from the rest of the field, and they've done just that as they put some real estate between themselves and Sam Ramo. Ramo gave up the spot, the third spot, to the 36 of Bob Santos. Bobby's able to get around him and take that spot, and Ron Silk right there now, as is Doug Kobe. Kobe with a march back to the front goes around Rob Summers. So starting to get some action there from third on back. Again, Ramo feeling the heat from Ron Silk. And Silk makes the move down underneath. Ramo comes right back to get up on his back bumper and follow him down the front stretch. Doug Kobe right there within striking distance. Kobe in the number 2 gives chase to Ramo. Here's Chuck Hosfeld down on the bottom right behind them, trying to pick up a spot. Hosfeld duking it out with Rob Summers. Summers will hold on. Meanwhile, Silk's march to the front gains another spot as he gets underneath the 36 of Bobby Santos. Ron Silk, and what a season he has had with the Kevin Stewart team, picks up another spot now in the top 3, and pedaling hard to track down these two. John McKennedy in the 7 and Justin Bonsignor in the 51. They've been having their own race out there, trading the lead back and forth as they cross the stripe to make it 130 laps out of the Musket 250 here at New Hampshire.
Last time through, Doug Kobe with a big move down into turn number 3 to pick up position. That is the 4th spot. He got wrestled away from Bobby Santos. Sammy Ramo going to try the same thing right here. Cannot make it work. So Kobe back up into 4th behind Ron Silk and in front of Bobby Santos as the front 2 continue to drive away from the field. John McKennedy moves down away from the wall. Now we've got to move for position. Sam Ramo moves to the inside on Bobby Santos, and he will take over that position as Ramo will pick up the 5th spot, move back into the top 5. And Matt Swanson coming up to join that group. He's going to go to work on the back of Santos now. So Santos could well be being very patient. As Pete said, he's a very patient, very smart driver, rides around, saves his stuff. So you may figure if those guys want to go, he's going to let them. Now Kobe works to the back bumper of Silk. Kobe down to the inside. That'll be a position. Kobe up into 3rd, kicks Silk back to 4th. Not so fast. Silk back to the bottom of the racetrack as they will drag race down the back straightaway. Bonsignor to the inside on McKennedy now. Bonsignor will take that spot away. Kobe will maintain 3rd as we make our way back to the front straightaway.
Yeah, those guys again trade the lead once again. This time it's Bonsignor at the point. Kobe's made the pass on Silk. And if those two can hook up, they had started to gain some ground on the leaders, and then they raced side by side for about 3/4 of a lap. And that's when the leaders gained some ground on them by running nose to tail. Silk trying to get that spot back away from Doug Kobe, and drives underneath him, pulls right up in front of him through the 3rd and 4th turn. So they exchange 3rd and 4th again, similar to what the leaders have done. But you can see, if they can hook up together and run together for a while, they might be able to reel in those leaders As the action moves to the backstretch, there's the leader, Justin Bonsignor. You see the distance between second place McKennedy and third place Ron Silk.
And every time you think these guys want to settle in and just ride for some laps, they start to get aggressive again. The front 6 or 8 now running pretty much single file as they will be inclined to click off some laps here. Bonsignor and McKennedy going to try to separate themselves from third and fourth rather, while Silk and Kobe going to try to run them down. Bobby Santos in fifth has 3 or 4 car lengths on Ramo. Now Goodale drops to the inside in that 58. He'll pick up a spot on Matt Swanson. Pull in behind the rookie Sam Ramo in that 06. Behind Goodale, Rob Summers in 9th, Chuck Hosfeld in 10th. Patrick Emmerling having a nice run as he continues on in 11th. Emmerling, a former winner at this racetrack. As the front 4 pretty much holding station now, with Bonsignor, McKennedy, Silk, and Kobe. Now Goodale drops to the inside. Looks like he thinks it's time to go here. Goodale works his way to the inside on Sam Ramo. Ramo going to battle back on the outside. Those two will go into turn number 1 side by side. Goodale drives it in deep. Ramo trying to hang tough on the outside, won't do it. Now will he go for the crossover? No, elects to fall in line behind Goodale. And those two going to go try to run down Bobby Santos. Matt Swanson going to get in line there in the 3 car and try to hang with those guys. Behind them, Rob Summers. And it looks like Craig Lutz right behind him as they continue to ride along.
The lead for Justin Bonsignor and John McKennedy has evaporated to the point where the 85 of Ron Silk is reeling them in and getting within striking distance. And of course, Silk is bringing Kobe with him, so this could get interesting in the next couple of laps. They really have clicked off some fast laps, both the 85 and the 2, to get up to our 2 leaders. And we're about to have a 4-car battle for the lead. They head off of turn 2 and down the backstretch.
That last time off turn number 4, McKennedy got really, really free. The back end stepping out on that car. Not sure if the handle is going away or if he just tried something a little different. Now he says, what the heck, we'll drop to the bottom, see if we can get to the inside on Bonsignor. Can't get anywhere near him, but that move allows Ron Silk to get to the back bumper on John McKennedy. The battle is for second. McKennedy in the white number 7. Silk in that purple number 85. Silk looks to the outside, looks to the inside. Nothing doing there as they make their way down the back straightaway. Silk will drop to the inside as they head into turn number 3. Drives deep into 3. He'll slide up and take the spot away. Move Ron Silk to P2 behind Justin Bonsignor. And now Doug Kobe goes to work on McKennedy.
Yeah, Silk really wants to lead this thing too. If he can get to the front and pick up some points, all the more better. But the season that they have had, that of course, as we heard, is a brand new car, and that 85 has been fast right off the trailer this weekend, both in practice and in qualifying, and he's proven it here again this afternoon as he now finds himself in second spot and closing in on our leader, Justin Bonsignor. Meanwhile, Doug Kobe's made the pass on McKennedy, and he goes to third. So not unusual to find these 3 guys at the front. And we may find these 3 guys slugging it out when we get to the finish as well. Here's Silk with a move down underneath Justin Bonsignor. And he takes the Stewart's Automotive number 85 to the front and will lead that lap as they come across the stripe. New leader, Ron Silk. It had been McKennedy and Bonsignor exchanging that lead back and forth since the last green flag. Now we have a new leader in Ron Silk. Bonsignor for second, Kobe third, and McKennedy back to the 4th spot in the number 7.
A little bit of a battle further back. Sam Ramo on that 06. There's a battle for 6 between he and Matt Swanson. They've swapped that back a couple of times here. Bobby Santos settling in right behind them. Now Swanson pulls back up on the back bumper of Ramo as they head down into turn number 1. Swanson going to take that spot back Ramo not going to make it easy as they slide up the hill. Ramo has to stab the brakes. And now he will go back to work on the back bumper. Now here comes Bonsignor. Bonsignor inside on Silk. He will take the lead back as Doug Kobe has run that group down. John McKennedy struggling just a bit as that car is fading a little bit. He is looking for a pit stop here. As the front two right there, nose to tail. Doug Kobe joining that group, so it's a 3-car battle for the top spot. Kobe gets a little bit sideways there as they exit the corner. And Bonsignor continues to lead. Silk second, Kobe third, McKennedy in fourth. Eric Goodale rounding out the top 5. Then that battle with Swanson and Ramo. That has settled out just a little bit. Bobby Santos behind them. Then it's Rob Summers and Chuck Hosfeld rounding out the top 10 as they run on the racetrack currently. Behind them, Patrick Emmerling is 11th. Craig Lutz 12th. Burt Myers 13th. Chris Pastriak in 14th. Anthony Nocella rounding out the top 15 and completing the top 20. Chase Dowling, Timmy Catalano, Gary Putnam, Calvin Carroll, and Timmy Solomito here in the Musket 250 as we approach halfway.
And if you had to pick a favorite for this one, chances are you picked one of the top 3 in the running order right now. Justin Bonsignor in the 51, Silk in the 85, and Doug Kobe in the number 2, although the 2 leaders, similar to what Bonsignor and McKennedy did a while back, it pulled away from the rest of the field. Kobe out there all by himself in the number 2 in a strong 3rd position, but still the 2 leaders working together are able to get away and get a little bit of a cushion between them and 3rd place. Meanwhile, the 7 of John McKennedy now can look in the rearview mirror and see Eric Goodale closing in on him, and Goodale is bringing the number 3 of Matt Swanson as we watch the battle for the lead. Here comes Silk, takes a dive down underneath Bonsignor in the race for the lead. He's able to make the pass, so yet another lead change, as is so predictable with these NASCAR Whelen Modifieds here at New Hampshire. The lead gets changed a bunch of times, and this race does not disappoint. Now there's the pass by Goodale, getting underneath McKennedy. As we said, McKennedy starting to fade a little bit after he led a good part of this race. McKennedy giving up a spot to Goodale, now comes under attack from Matt Swanson in the number 3. Swanson gets underneath McKennedy but can't make the pass, and will pull back up behind him and follow him down the backstretch.
Kind of a spirited little battle further back in the field, back around 20th. Timmy Catalano on the 45, duking it out with Gary Putnam and Blake Barney and Andy Seiss in the middle of that. Seiss, who had his troubles earlier in the race, is a lap down, so he is not battling for position. But those 4 cars have been duking it out now. Timmy Catalano, going to separate himself from the other 3. Putnam going to try to get up in there, and Blake Barney. But those 4 have been duking it out for 5 or 6 laps now, having a little fun deep in the field.
Meanwhile, Matt Swanson has really been trying to get around John McKennedy. He's gotten underneath him a couple of times, but just can't quite make it. And this time, lost a couple of lengths on him. Again, he'll follow McKennedy down into turn 1. That, of course, is the battle for the 5th spot, as Swanson trying to get back into the top 5. Here are the leaders working the 3rd and 4th turn. They're coming into some heavy traffic too. Silk in front. Bonsignor stays with them, and they got to pick their way through some of the back markers there, including Andy Seiss in the 82. They dispatch of him pretty quick, and right in front, Blake Barney running with the 77.
Pete, I wanted to give you an update real quick on the front 2 of Justin Bonsignor and the 85 of Ronnie Silk. Both of these guys are working together a little bit at the front of the field, knowing that we still are just a bit shy of 100 laps to the finish in today's event. They are trying to keep the engines cool on these machines, and so they are swapping the lead back and forth to allow one car to lead for a period of time, get that engine cooled off a little bit, then let the other car jump out in front, and vice versa, lap and lap again. The spotters on the roof are probably wearing out the most shoe leather as they work back and forth trying to communicate to their individual drivers so they time the lead swaps appropriately so they don't lose ground to the third place machine, and they make sure that they know when it's coming so they can give each other room and still get the job done to try to keep those engines cool.
Part of the strategy that goes into this Musket 250. Joe sharing that with us as we watch those leaders. We also see John McKennedy out there with Sam Ramo and the 36 of Bobby Santos. Again, that's outside the top 5. Ramo got around McKennedy to go to 6th. Santos right behind McKennedy. So you can see McKennedy battling a loose race car as he really got a saw on the wheel coming out of the turn.
On pit road, guys, the 46 machine of Craig Lutz getting fuel only on that 46 machine. He may just have enough to make it to the finish here with 94 laps to go, but it does open up the fuel window for the opportunity for these cars to come down pit road. Remember what happened with Craig Lutz early in the race. He came down pit lane because of the damage they got in the nose under that lap 7 caution. They came down, they did fuel, they did tires, but on the exit of pit lane, the problem he ran into was he was too fast on pit exit. He had to come back down for a pass-through penalty and altered their strategy for the rest of the day. They got off sequence with everybody else. As soon as the pit window opened, they wanted to come down pit road and get fuel for their race cars. And you better believe as soon as they saw one car come, everybody else is up on pit wall thinking about what their strategy is and whether or not they need to come down pit road. Some of the teams shooting for lap 178, still about 20 laps from now to start a green flag pit stop if we don't get a caution before then.
Yeah, and Lutz didn't come down at that last sequence of pit stops, says Joe. Now Timmy Solomito heads down pit road as well.
Yeah, same deal, taking fuel on that X6 again to play into the strategy, because at this point, even if there was a caution to allow everybody else to go down, those guys could stay out there because they've gotten the fuel. Again, they're cutting it a little close, but we'll see how that plays out as we get further into the race. We'll have 160 complete the next time by.
And Pete, the thing about that Timmy Solomito stop was he was another guy, just like the 46 of Craig Lutz. On that opening caution, Sly Zabin, the crew chief, was saying, save, 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 and fuel. And that was on lap 7. They've been playing the strategy all day long. They've been a lap or 2 down. And so if they can get their pit service, get that wave around, have track position, all of a sudden the day changes for that X6 of Timmy Solomito.
And now the question becomes, when do the rest of the leaders need to come down? How far can they go and still be safe? Joe was talking about green flag pit stops. Don't think we're in the nervous zone yet, but these crew chiefs are doing the math just as fast as their little fingers and calculators will work on pit road.
Pretty healthy lead here for Ron Silk, the biggest lead that we've had in this stage of green flag laps. He leads Doug Kobe by almost 7/10 of a second. Kobe over Justin Bonsignor and Eric Goodale. Kobe and Bonsignor run together down into turn number 3, and together they're trying to make up that distance on Ron Silk. As you can see, running right together down across the stripe. Behind them, Eric Goodale all by himself in that number 58. Then it's Matt Swanson, Sam Ramo, Bobby Santos, Rob Summers, John McKennedy, and Chuck Hosfeld at the top 10. 162 complete.
I'm sure Joe could tell us better who is, but as we look down pit road, a lot of these teams starting to get ready. You see helmets going on. You see tires moving closer to the pit wall. You see fuel cans getting ready. These guys ready for that final stop with, as it's known, the money stop. Will be the next stop, the next opportunity for these guys to come in, and it could be the last time they get down pit road. So this will be when it is that they've got what they've got.
I think what they're going to want is fuel. If they come to pit road, that's going to be the quickest stop that they can do, and take what they got for Hoosier Tires the rest of the way. As again, those leaders running together, starting to track down Ron Silk. That lead, which was about 0.8 of a second not all that long ago, has evaporated slightly. And again, two of them together can really work to pick up some speed and track down the leader. You see the distance between first and second as they sprint across the stripe, and the caution flag comes out. Boy, a well-timed caution there. Yellow on the racetrack.
Yeah, so caution benefits everybody except Craig Lutz and Timmy Solomito. Those guys needed this thing to play out, and it does not do that. So their strategy has gone bust. Tough break for those two teams. Everybody else realizing they are in their window, and one more stop will get it done. Front three were checking out. They were about a tenth of a second quicker than Eric Goodale in that 58 car. So the front three, definitely the fastest three on the racetrack. And now they'll get the chance to get in, get fuel, get tires if they choose, and be good to go to the end of the Musket 250.
You can see the flag for the pit road still being shown. Dick Brooks down there signifying that the pit road is still closed, and once he switches that to the green, then all bets are off as they work their way down pit road in front of a big crowd here at New Hampshire for the running of the Musket 250, the culmination of a great full throttle weekend. There's Brooksy and the green flag coming out now, so that will allow these teams to get down to pit road and let their pit strategies come into play. With 166 of 250 laps completed in the Musket 250, and once again, as advertised, does not disappoint.
Yeah, this has been a good race as the teams head down pit road to where Joe Koss is.
Well, it's going to be a busy day here on pit lane. Most of the teams will get up and take two stops like we saw. The question is, what order will they go? A lot of the front runners are going to go ahead and take their tires first. All three that are at the front of the field will pit next to each other on the turn one end of pit road. And it's going to be Doug Covey is going to be one of the first ones to his pit stall. The crew counts him down to the stop. They go around to the right side, take two tires there. It'll be a 4-tire stop for Doug Covey. The adjustment's only in air pressure, so it makes the stop a little bit quicker. Ronnie Silk, same thing. It'll be 3 tires for Silk, only 3 tires, and it'll be tires here, no adjustments other than air pressure. Justin Bonsignor, though, that team doing it a little bit different. They're going to put 2 cans of Sunoco Racing gas into that machine. He will take fuel on the first stop, and he's going to come back around and look for 4 Hoosier Racing tires on this second time down pit road.
As you pointed out last time, Joe, sometimes they'd rather change the tires when pit road is a little less crowded, and that may be the philosophy that they follow as we see Doug Covey now down and away and will rejoin the field. You see a number of cars coming out and the stickers flashing on those tires as they head back out to the race surface. So again, we will watch and see as they get around the racetrack quick so they can get back over here to pit road. Among them, Ron Silk in the number 85. On the brakes, slow it down to that 45-mile-per-hour pit road speed. And Silk is back on pit road. Here's Joe.
Silk was one of the drivers that took tires that last time. Remember, he had 3 tires only, and from behind the wheel of that race car, he was saying, I want 3 inches of stagger, and basically that's the difference in size from the right rear tire and the left rear tire in circumference. That's one of the key things they use to set up these race cars, so he will be having fuel on this stop. Justin Bonsignor, it's going to be a 3-tire stop for Justin Bonsignor. After they saw what Ronnie Silk did, they were thinking about doing 4, and as a matter of fact, they are going to take 4 for that 51 car of Justin Bonsignor. Fuel only for Doug Covey in that Sunoco machine. Going to go ahead and pack it full of fuel for the Mayhew Tools car. Doug Covey leaves pit road, but it's Silk, Bonsignor, and Doug Covey, the top 3 off pit lane.
And the rest follow suit as they head on out of pit road. We watched the stop down here just beyond the start-finish line for John McKennedy. He got it in a little close to the wall, and the jackman had to squeeze right in there in order to get the left side of that number 7 up. They were able to achieve it, Now another car comes to a stall. That is Chuck Hosfeld stalls it, pulling out. His crew gives him a push, and he's able to get it refired in the number 21. So you see a lot of cars coming out with those brand new Hoosier tires. They've got what they want to go the distance at this point, the fuel and the tires. Let's see how this changes the running order once they get them back lined up again. And Doug Coby's coming your way, Joe.
That'll be the third time this team comes down pit lane here under this round of pit stops. They were third off of pit lane here that time through, but Coby is one of the drivers that'll come back down, get an extra splash of fuel to make sure that they can go the entire way and send Coby back out onto the racetrack.
And he'll quickly get back out onto the racetrack as the rest of the cars line up behind the Toyota pace car. And up front are two cars that were at the front when we went under caution, Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignor. Follow the pace car here across the stripe, and we will remain under caution for another lap. Chase Dowling, the defending winner of this race, on pit road in the Tomeno number 99. Gary Putnam comes in and gets some fuel in the number 77. Dowling's crew doing their tire change. As they sort out the running order. Let's hear more about the McKennedy stop. Here's Joe.
Well, some of the strategy that's playing out for John McKennedy and this 70 York team, they've got the opportunity where they can assemble another set of tires down here on pit lane. Remember how I spoke earlier, how if you play your strategy out with the tires and the fuel right, you might still be able to preserve a couple of tires or a set of tires towards the end of the race. Tommy Baldwin has been on the NASCAR Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series crew chief for many, many years, is very experienced at that level, knows how to call races that have run 250 laps and longer, especially here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Well, guess what? They've got one more ace in the hole if they want to try to see if they could play a card late in the going in that 70 York car. They still have some tires that they can go after in case things get needed at the end of the day.
Good call and good strategy by a veteran crew chief out there. A couple more cars make it down pit road. That includes Anthony Nocella in the number 92. This is Nocella's fuel stop. As he pulls up and a can of fuel goes into the car, they top it off and away he will go to rejoin the field. The lights are off on the pace car. We'll get back to it the next lap. 171 of 250 complete. And it's been a good one up front. Ron Silk and Justin Bonsignor, Matt Swanson and Sam Ramo. Also Bobby Santos up there with John McKennedy, Rob Summers and Chris Pastriak. Haven't talked about Pastriak much today, but he's up there in the fourth row as the pace car peels off and they head down the front stretch. Green flag is in the air. We're back underway. That inside row gets a pretty good jump. Ron Silk with Matt Swanson right behind him. Bonsignor up on the outside of Swanson, trying to hold on to the second spot. And it is Bonsignor in second behind Silk. Then Ramo scoots through to go to third. Brings John McKennedy with him in the number 7.
Off of turn number 4 now. Ron Silk showing the way. Justin Bonsignor in second. Doug Coby mired in traffic. Right behind the duo of Burt Myers and Chuck Hosfeld. Nowhere for Coby to go. Needs to be very patient here as he gets ready to work his way back towards his two buddies there at the front of the field in Silk and Bonsignor. Sam Ramo, the youngster, we talked a lot about that kid, but really showing well of himself here this afternoon in that 06. Then it's McKennedy and Matt Swanson doing a nice job in the 3 car as he rounds out the top 5. Doug Coby going to work as he looks to the inside on Burt Myers. Nothing doing there. Back at the front of the field, Silk leads the way into turn number 1.
Yeah, Ron Silk will show the way out of turn 2 and down the backstretch. Justin Bonsignor follows with Sam Ramo right on his back bumper. This time Bonsignor dives to the bottom to make the pass on Silk and does. Going into turn 3, the preferred passing spot here in New Hampshire is to drive it down deep into that third turn, make the pass and slide up in front. And that's exactly what Bonsignor did to get back to the lead. He's got Silk right behind him. And Ramo hanging tough along with McKennedy and Swanson. Add Eric Goodale to the mix, along with Bobby Santos and Rob Summers. So freight train of modifieds down the backstretch. Now Ramo will make a move, takes it way down deep, trying to pass both Silk and Bonsignor. He's gotten himself out of line, and if he can't get back up there, they're going to freight train right by him, and that's what's going on. McKennedy gets by and takes Swanson with him. Ramo's actually able to get back up in line, but not till he gets to the 5th spot.
Here comes Eric Goodale, goes to work on Ramo. Couple of laps ago. Chase Dowling on pit road with a right rear flat tire on that 99 car. Tough break for Dowling. Eric Goodale using that very extreme low line to make moves forward as he settles in behind Ramo. Goes to work on him. Behind them, Bobby Santos riding along with Rob Summers. Hot on his tail, Doug Kobe. Not able to make moves just yet, being very patient here as he knows he's inside the top 10 with plenty of laps to go. Working our way towards 70 to go.
Down the backstretch into turn 3. Quite a move by Patrick Emmerling in that 07, just coming into the picture as he just took that thing down low to make the pass. Quite a move by Emmerling in the 07. There's the leaders working the 1st and 2nd turn. Silk trying to get a little breathing room between himself and Justin Bonsignor. Bonsignor's got McKennedy. McKennedy drops out of line. Takes a look down underneath Bonsignor. Can't quite make it happen. While there's an opening there, he'll slide back up in line in front of Matt Swanson and maintain that 3rd spot.
Guys starting to get a little physical from about 4th or 5th on back. That group with McKennedy and Swanson and Ramo and Goodale getting a little more aggressive maybe. That's looks like that's 4th on back. That foursome getting a little aggressive with the front bumpers here. As the laps start to wind down, these guys are going to start to get less and less patient as we roll towards the finish. Out in front, Ron Silk having things comfortably his own way. Justin Bonsignor being very patient in 2nd. And in 3rd right now, that is the John McKennedy car with Matt Swanson hot on his tail.
A little further back in the pack, Robbie Summers working over Doug Kobe there. And that is a battle for position for sure. As they head now down the backstretch, Kobe's able to put a little room between the 2 and the 64. So Rob Summers was right there at the moment. Here's McKennedy trying to make that pass again, and he'll have to slide back up in front of Swanson as Bonsignor takes a look to the inside of Silk. These guys are going to go back and forth and exchange the lead again as Bonsignor is back to the point.
The laps winding down now. Doug Kobe mired in the 10th position, hasn't been able to make any moves. So then the question becomes, is he just saving his stuff? Is he protecting his tires and his car? Or did that last pit stop not go the way he needed it to in terms of adjustments? So Doug Kobe, one to keep your eye on, as he is back in the 10th position. Came in with the points lead, but 19 points the gap. So not a whole lot of gap as the laps wind down and his closest competitors running at the front of the field. So word from Joe Costa out on pit road that the 3rd pit stop for Kobe was for a splash of fuel just to make absolutely sure they could get to the end. And he's showing on the watch just a bit faster than the leaders as he rides along there in the 10th position. Being very patient here right now.
67 laps to go at this point, so still plenty of racing left as they exchange the lead once again. There's Silk back out in front. Bonsignor to 2nd. McKennedy for 3rd. Now encountering some lap traffic, and they'll pick their way through it as they head down the backstretch. once again going around Andy Seiss in the 82. Here's a move by Doug Kobe. As Kobe gets around the 21 of Chuck Hosfield, let's go to Joe.
We talked about all day long the strategy on pit road and the pit stops and how it all plays out toward the end of this race. But one thing Matt Swanson told me at the start of the day today is he said, here at this racetrack, we've had fast race cars. We have not always had the luck. And sometimes in racing, you have to create your own luck. He said, so many times I was in the wrong lane on the restart. I want to be able to restart on the outside lane of the racetrack. They were just talking just a moment ago among their team members saying, Matt, if you can't move forward, stay in the 4th position, because if the caution flag comes out, you'll be on the outside and we'll capitalize on it then. So it's a little bit of strategy that's being played here. Swanson said, I know I want the outside on restarts, and if I'm 4th, I guarantee myself the opportunity to do that and position myself better as we approach lap 250.
Yeah, great strategy there.
And while Joe was talking there, Doug Kobe starting to make moves towards the front. We talked about him riding in 10th. Kobe up into the 7th position now as he works his way forward. Kobe has decided it's time to go. Things have strung out, and he's going to start picking them off one by one. Keep your eye on that 2 car. The last 5 or 8 laps, he's been the fastest car on the racetrack by about 1/10 of a second. Starting to pick up positions now as he goes to work on the rookie Sam Ramo in that 06 car.
Lead continues to change back and forth, swapped between Ron Silk and Bonsignor. Is Bonsignor now back to second? The 7 of John McKennedy. He's got a good view of it from the 3rd spot. And as Joe pointed out about Matt Swanson in that number 3, content to ride in the 4th spot right now. Not trying to be aggressive at all. As a matter of fact, none of those guys at the front overly aggressive. They'll take what they can get, but they're happy to ride in the position that they're at. As we continue to click off the laps, it'll be 189 of 250 this time by. And again, if the 2nd place car gets a burst of speed, he'll go to the bottom and take the lead back, and then it'll change back again. And that's the way it's been between Silk and Bonsignor. John McKennedy in 3rd, Matt Swanson 4th, Eric Goodale rounds out the top 5. Then Sam Ramo, Doug Kobe, Patrick Emmerling, Chuck Hosfeld, and Rob Summers round out the top 10 as the leaders will go across the stripe, and they officially mark 190 laps of the Musket 250.
Ron Silk out to about a couple of car lengths here. Justin Bonsignor maybe holding back, just trying to get some fresh air to the radiator of that car. Joe told you earlier, the spotters up there communicating on top of the roof. The crew chiefs communicating as they try to keep the engines on those cars cool, swapping the lead, ducking out from behind the cars in front of them. John McKennedy in 3rd as now Bonsignor pulls right up on the back bumper of Ron Silk. John McKennedy going to join him. Matt Swanson there as well. And Swanson protecting that 4th position. That is right where he wants to be. And that team working to keep him in a position for a late restart if we should have one. Eric Goodale now takes a look to the inside on Swanson. Nothing doing there. Sam Ramo right there is the front 6 now. Have separated themselves from the rest of the field just a little bit. Patrick Emmerling and Doug Kobe are right behind them in 7th and 8th. There's about 8 or 10 car lengths back to that next group.
Yeah, Emmerling was able to get around Kobe and take the spot, but that could be easily exchanged once again as Kobe takes a look down underneath Emmerling and takes the spot back. So again, like we've seen with the lead, these two have been trading it back and forth. Right behind them, the 21 of Hosfeld. The 99, of course, of Dowling is not on the lead lap at this point. And here we go in that race for the lead. Bonsignor has it, Silk wants it, and takes it back.
Chuck Hosfeld picking up a position now as he works his way to the inside on Patrick Emmerling back at the front of the field. Ron Silk continues to lead. Eric Goodale ducks out a line now as he makes the move on John McKennedy. The question is, can he get back up in front of him? Does not look like he will be able to do so. And he'll fill that hole he just vacated between McKennedy and Swanson. Front two, right nose to tail. Bonsignor pushing Ron Silk. down the back straightaway as they head for turn number 3. Front 5 now starting to separate themselves just a bit from Sam Ramo in that 06 car as he fade back towards Doug Kobe, who runs in the 7th spot now. Kobe has gotten back around to the 7th spot. Chuck Hosfeld 8th, Patrick Emmerling 9th, and Rob Summers rounding out the top 10.
Tell you about Eric Goodale. I mean, he was really coming. He dispatched of Matt Swanson pretty quick. Got up to that 4th spot. Took a look underneath McKennedy, but didn't have enough to get by him, nor did he have room to get between McKennedy and Bonsignor, or whoever was second at the time. And he has settled into that 4th spot, but he's really been coming here in this stage of the race. So he's one to keep an eye on as Goodale is hungry to get to the front. Your leader is Ron Silk in the number 85. They've been going back and forth. Silk and Bonsignor, 1st to 2nd, 2nd to 1st, and McKennedy in the 3rd spot. Eric Goodale 4th, and Matt Swanson round out the top 5.
Doug Kobe goes to work on Sam Ramo as they head for turn number 1. Kobe the inside. Looks like he is going to be able to pick up that spot. Those two are going to try to go chase down that front 5. As now Matt Swanson has lost touch with the front 4 as it is a 4-car breakaway. Kobe and Ramo going to try to run down Matt Swanson as they get ever closer. Trying to stay in touch with that front group. The front 4 cars. Ron Silk in the 85, Justin Bonsignor in the 51, the 7 of John McKennedy, and now Eric Goodale in that bright yellow 58 as Chase Dowling back down at Jamie Tomato's 99 car as they come back down pit road now. The front 4 trying to separate themselves from the rest of the field. Matt Swanson, sort of the odd man out in the middle. Then it's Kobe and Ramo and Hosfeld all kind of working together. Further back, Rob Summers, Patrick Emmerling run together. But the front 4 starting to create a bit of a breakaway here. Now Matt Swanson trying to close that gap down. Gaining a little bit of ground as the front 2 swap that lead. Now Bonsignor to the inside. He'll take over the lead on Silk. Possibly another planned move between those two. John McKennedy right there in 3rd. Goodale falling off the back just a little bit in 4th. As Matt Swanson tries to catch that group in the 3 car. Doug Kobe behind him in 6th. Sam Ramo in 7th. Chuck Hosfeld in 8th. And then a big gap back to Summers in 9th. Now Chris Pasteryak goes to work on Patrick Emmerling trying to pick up a spot. That is for the 11th position. Another lap goes up on the board. 49 laps to go. 201 laps have been completed here in the 2nd annual Musket 250. Bonsignor, Silk, McKennedy, Goodale, the top 4 run right together. Kobe trying to run up on Matt Swanson and either get around him or push him back to that front 4.
Here's Silk down underneath Bonsignor, and Goodale keeps that charge going. He gets down underneath John McKennedy to take over the 3rd spot. So yeah, he's been coming. And this is going to be interesting when he catches those front 2. He's really had a head of steam here over the last dozen or 15 laps, and he is approaching the front 2 runners, Silk and Bonsignor, who have been exchanging the lead back and forth. And Goodale's going to want a piece of that. You heard about trying to get the cheese into victory lane when Goodale spoke with Joe Koss earlier today. Well, it certainly is the mouse chasing the cheese as he is really closing on Bonsignor now. Here's a battle a little further back. Doug Kobe and Matt Swanson. Kobe has picked up a spot. He's going after McKennedy, who runs in the 4th position. Kobe now up to 5th.
About a 2nd gap now between McKennedy and Kobe. That gap is pretty well maintained. It's been McKennedy back to Swanson, but now Kobe in that mix. We'll watch the gap there as it's been about a second, fourth to fifth, as that front group, the front four, have been able to work together and stay at the head of the class. 9/10 of a second. Kobe gained 1/10 of a second on that front four. Plenty of time still, 45 laps to go. So Kobe can be very patient here as he works his way toward that group. Now he has caught them. Holy cow.
Well, what happened there is McKennedy put a move on Goodale. Goodale didn't want to give it up. Those two almost got together, and that's what happened. Goodale ends up backing up to Doug Kobe and is even kind of trying to throw the block on him as Kobe gets underneath. That really messed with Goodale's momentum. He'd gotten up to third, was going after the leaders, and then McKennedy took a run at him and got the spot back. So Bonsignor out in front, Silk in second. Now McKennedy has gone to third, and right behind them, Eric Goodale had to contend with Doug Kobe. So as we click off lap number 207, it's going to get interesting because Doug Kobe's going to get up there into the mix, and we'll have, as we have for a good part of this late stage of the race, 4 cars all running together for the lead. It's been Silk and Bonsignor since the last green flag, exchanging the lead back and forth. McKennedy, a resurgence from him as he's part of a 3-car group. Then you go back to Kobe and Eric Goodale. That is 4th and 5th. Goodale, as we said, had a pretty good charge going, but that's been stalled as he's been passed by Kobe now for the 4th spot. So don't count out John McKennedy, who's right back into the mix. Next time by, we'll have just 40 laps to go. So as we say, I think once you hit that 40 to go mark, it's definitely go time. A little bit of a wiggle out of the 85 of Ron Silk that time, coming out of turn number 2, but he maintains the 2nd spot. McKennedy stays within striking distance.
Interesting to watch the gap from 3rd to 4th. That time by that gap, about 7/10 of a second, it is kind of maintained. Doug Kobe is very good getting into the corners. The early part of the corner, Doug Kobe is really, really good. As now he has lost a spot to Eric Goodale. This 3 at the front are really good on exit. From middle out, they really gain a bunch of ground. As now Goodale pulls right back up on those 4.
Yeah, Goodale went back and kind of caught his breath and now has come back to get up into that battle.
Craig Lutz on pit road again now. As the day that so promising in the middle part of the race as wheels have kind of come off here. But yeah, that front 4, Goodale had, like you said, he'd sort of settled in back there, rode, saved the stuff, pulled off his tires a little bit. Now he's right back in the thick of it.
Yeah, getting up on the back bumper of John McKennedy, who's running 3rd. McKennedy's been watching those guys exchange the lead up there, Bonsignor and Silk. Here's a move by Goodale now, down underneath McKennedy, trying to take the spot away, and does. So Goodale is back to 3rd. That's where he was a little while ago. And he's back up to 3rd. Let's see for how long. Here comes McKennedy again with a ride to the bottom. Boy, Goodale kind of tried to throw the block there, but McKennedy would have none of it. Stayed right underneath him and takes the spot away. Those two guys aren't done.
Yeah, those two duking it out, those letting those front 2 get away, and it's bringing Doug Kobe right back to him. So those guys need to figure out what they're going to do here and go race for the lead. This race for 3rd is letting the front 2 kind of check out just a little bit.
Yeah, Goodale and McKennedy, they kind of exchange blows out there, if you will. And Kobe has come to them, as you mentioned, Andy. So that's a 3-car race for the 3rd spot, as the 2 leaders are trying to get away. When they go across the stripe next time, we will have completed 215. Here's that battle, McKennedy and Goodale. Goodale's got it again down the backstretch. They put a little distance between themselves and Doug Kobe. Don't know whether Kobe's laying back a little bit or He just can't advance any further, but the leaders are staying together, Silk and Bonsignor. Got to remember how this race ended last year on that final lap with the two leaders getting together, and then third and fourth fighting it out for the win. And Chase Dowling came out on top. So still some drama to play out here, as we've got 215 of 250 complete. It'll be 216 this time.
The old 35-lap Saturday night special right here, folks, as we wind this thing down. And it's only going to get better from here as Bonsignor and Silk continue to battle it out for the top spot. Eric Goodale has gotten clear. He is going to join that fight now. John McKennedy there, Doug Kobe as well, as they try to settle it out amongst themselves. Kobe's starting to drop off the back just a little bit, but he's done that several times and worked his way right to it. So Silk, Bonsignor, and Eric Goodale right there together. A couple of car lengths back is John McKennedy. And then a half a dozen car lengths back to Kobe. Those five appear to be the cars that are going to settle it out. Matt Swanson is sixth, but he is a long way back.
Boy, look at this move by Eric Goodale. Bonsignor went to the bottom, and Goodale tried to follow, but he couldn't make it work. He thought while the door was open, he'd take a walk in there himself, but he could not make it stick down on the bottom of Ron Silk. So Bonsignor goes back to the point, Silk back to second, but Eric Goodale is stalking them both, and could just be a matter of time before he takes a chance like that. John McKennedy trying to come back as well. So what was a two-car race for the lead turns back into a four-car race for the lead as they head out of turn four.
And Pete, Joe Koss mentioned earlier that the 85 and 51 teams, Silk and Bonsignor, kind of working together. They had their spotters in communication, and they were making sure that they kind of took care of each other. How long does that last? How deep in this thing does that go before the gloves come off and the helping each other out thing? And look out, here comes Goodale all the way to the bottom. 2 in 1 shot. Now Silk gonna cross him over.
Yeah.
Off of turn number 4. What a battle for the top spot.
Boy, could he make it stick? No, as now he's relegated to the outside. Silk gets back by, Bonsignor gets back by, and while the door is open, here comes McKennedy in the 7. So Eric Goodale took a chance, drove it down in there deep, tried to get 2 in 1 pass. Might be able to salvage third spot out of that, but McKennedy's given him a good run as they're side by side for that third spot. So Eric Goodale had the lead momentarily, but those two leaders just walked right by him again.
And
so
with all that going on, look who's joined the fight. That 2-car, Doug Kobe, right back in the thick of this thing.
Yeah, we got 5 now in that front draft as they head down the backstretch. Here comes Bonsignor again, gets out of line, but doesn't make the pass. Goodale does. He goes to the bottom, tried that 2-car pass again. Can he make it stick? He's stuck to the bottom, but he is able to get by Bonsignor, shoved Bonsignor up the racetrack. Now they got to split a lap car. Unbelievable, they get together. As predicted, the drama gets thick late in the race. They split the lap car, and when they came back together again, they made contact. Both Goodale in the 58 and Silk wrecked up against the wall. And boy, oh boy, what drama we have there. Boy, you can see not happy about it at all. As
yeah, I don't know that Silk meant to do that. The front end is completely tore off of that race car. The right front and the left front not pointing in the same direction. So I almost think that Silk was trying to head back to pit road, and the car just would not go where he wanted it to. Both cars with heavy front end damage. Oh, my goodness.
Can't wait to see a replay on that one because I'll tell you what, it all started coming out of turn 4. There's Eric Goodale down on the inside. He's headed for pit road. It all started coming out of turn 4 when Goodale was making that move, and you can see he's got heavy front end damage, can barely steer that car. He made contact or at least caused Justin Bonsignor to go up the racetrack. Bonsignor actually made contact with the wall out of turn 4. Then they came up on a lap car. The leaders were side by side. They went to split it, Goodale on the bottom and Silk on the top. And once they cleared that lap car, they both were going for the same spot on the racetrack, and they got together and both ended up in the wall. So this changes things dramatically now with 223 of 250 complete. This is going to be a shootout to the finish, and we've lost 2 of the. We're watching the replay on the screen up here in the studio, and yeah, I don't know that Bonsignor made contact with the wall, but he came pretty quick. Now they split the lap car just as we said, and boom, they get together because they both are going for the same piece of real estate after they go by the lap car. Let's go to some of these pit stops with Joe.
Those teams that had saved that one extra set of tires coming down pit lane to try to take advantage of that here. It'll be tires just about all of the front runners taking advantage of it. Justin Bonsignor, the first car all the way down the end of pit road. One of the fastest pit crews in the Whelen Modified Tour over the past couple of seasons. But it's John McKennedy with a quick splash of fuel. He's off of pit road first. Chuck Hosfeld with a quick stop. He gets off second. Then Justin Bonsignor, Sammy Ramu in a team, the rookie team out in front. And then finally Doug Covey able to get off pit road fourth. You've got Matt Swanson who took tires. A slow stop for Bobby Santos came in fourth. Now we'll end up leaving at the tail end of the cars that came down pit lane.
Well, as we said, late race drama. First of all, is not unusual with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and we know with one Musket 250 under our belts last year that we had a similar story where the leaders got mixed up, although that was on the last lap of the race. But this has happened now with just about almost 25 laps to go, and again, it changes the makeup of the front runners. We see Patrick Emmerling, who had a good run going. They've got actually the hood off that car down on pit road, and that's a disappointment because he'd been up there as well. So I don't know that his day may be done. We'll have Joe check that out for us. The engine failure on that 07 is what the report is. Difficult, particularly so far into this race. Let's go to Joe.
Well, made my way down to the race leaders pit, John McKennedy and Tommy Baldwin. We've seen these long runs work to the favor of the guys like Silk and Bonsignor, but now we've got a short run. Do you think that'll work to the favor of you in this 7 team?
I certainly hope so. I mean, this Ultra Wheel at 7NY has been pretty strong all day. We've gotten pretty loose on the long run, but this might be in our favor. We took right side tires here. The left side tires have been brand new all day, you know, when we've been taking them off. So we'll see what we got here. I mean, it's money time now, right?
That's Tommy Baldwin. He's the owner and the crew chief of the 7 New York. They gambled. Remember I told you under that last caution flag, they were saving one more ace in the hole. They took the right side tires only. They were scuffed tires that they had run earlier in the race. They put them back on the right side, or I should say earlier in the weekend, put them on the right side of that car so they know what they've got, and they've got a short run set up in it.
This is going to be interesting. The work continues on Eric Goodale's number 58 as he's back down on pit road. They continue to work on the left front of that car.
Chuck Hosfeld going to restart in second. He had announced his retirement earlier this year. It was going to be all done at the end of this season. So what a way to end the career. It's his final race here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway if he can pick up the win. So keep your eyes on Chuck Hosfeld in that 21. And the youngster, the kid in the 06, Sammy Ramo, right there alongside Justin Bonsignor in row number 2.
It'll be 227 laps complete when they come around this time. Pace car is off. Green flag, back underway. McKennedy up on the outside, trying to hold off the 21 of Hosfeld. Ramo now working the outside. Add Matt Swanson to it in the number 3. He's back up there. Bonsignor getting hung up behind the 21 of Hosfeld, goes to the outside, and will follow the number 3 around. Here comes down on the inside Doug Covey in the number 2, advancing a spot. Leaders off of turn 4, and it's John McKennedy back at the point. Trouble out of turn 4. Calvin Carroll gets turned around and connects with the inside wall, and one other car up against the outside safer barrier out of turn 4.
And I think the car that started that was the 4 car of Burt Myers. I think he got up into the wall and came back down the racetrack as he has heavy damage. I believe he was the first one into the wall. Got into Calvin Carroll and then took that 3rd car with him. So tough break there as we go back to green and quickly right back to caution.
Yeah, tough break for Burt Myers, who was looking for good things this weekend, coming with his own car, and he is limping down the backstretch. Let's go to Joe.
Well, the guy that's had the dominant car all day long has been the 51 of Justin Bonsignor. Ryan, you've got a position now where you had such long run speed throughout the race. Now it's a short run to the finish. Do you have that setup in the car at this point?
Yeah, I think so. We've had good short run speed, long run speed, so track position stuff here on the bottom, so I'm glad we're starting 4th here. We'll see what we can do. The guys have done a great job. It's a long, grueling race on pit road. A lot of pit stops, a lot of strategy. It's really stressful for everybody. The guys have done just a great job. Justin's done a great job driving, and we'll see what happens here with about 20 to go.
All right, that's Ryan Stone. He is a crew chief for Justin Bonsignor. He's got a setup that he thought was going to be good for the long run. We'll see if he can go ahead and make an adjustment here at the end. During that interview, he was sweating and breathing as hard as he could. He talked about stress in the interview. He is certainly amped up to see if they can get redemption after being so close, a half a lap here today.
Tempo road right now. Watch and you were right about Burt Myers, who just turned that thing sideways coming out of turn 4 and slapped the outside safer barrier with the right rear, and everybody piled up behind him. Calvin Carroll was able to drive away, however, in that number 25 after making contact with the inside wall.
Yeah, and he's on pit road now as the crew goes to work checking that car out. And it looks like they're going to put a left rear on that machine now. That 25 car down there on pit road.
Watching Doug Kobe make his way around here in the Mayhew Tools number 2, talking about the points battle between him and Justin Bonsignor. Ron Silk now, who was 3rd in the points coming in, had a shot pending upon what was going on with Bonsignor and Kobe, but Silk's day is done early, and Kobe, of course, hoping for another consistent run here and maintain that 19-point lead. And again, we watch another replay of the last incident. So again, we're under caution. But let's go to Joe. He's got another crew chief down there.
All day long, the story of Sammy Ramu and that 06 machine running toward the front of the field. This is a team that really first full time on tour. You guys are running at the top of the heap at one of the biggest races of the year, the Musket 250. Danny Stebbins, how did you do it here this afternoon?
Well, our crew, we've been practicing on pit stops. We got a good setup on the car, and our driver's doing a phenomenal job today.
A lot of guys up there turning their heads about what the other guy might do. Guys that they've raced with, like Matt Swanson, John McKennedy, Doug Kobe, guys that are up there. But they don't know what kind of wild cards you guys are holding. What's the strategy here in the final 19 laps?
We're going to drive around the outside. We're going right to the front.
There you go, with a big smile across his face, Danny Stebbins. No stranger to modified racing here in the Northeast. Longtime car owner, was one of the best in the business, owned cars through Woody Pit Cap for a period of time. Very, very successful. And now he's trying to steal a rabbit out of the hat. Nobody would have picked Sammy Ramu to win this race at the start. He might be the guy that goes to victory lane in the Musket 250.
Well, I guess Danny Stebbins knows how to get to victory lane, doesn't he, Andy?
Oh, my goodness. That guy won a ton of races back in the day in late models, won some pro stock races, and had some success in modifieds in his own right. Danny Stebbins, the crew chief on that bunch. And he also has an MRS championship under his belt as a car owner and crew chief. So Stebbins knows his way to victory lane. We'll see if his young protege in the seat can do the same.
He is right up there in the thick of it for sure. As they'll rack them back up. It'll be 232 laps of the 250 complete when they come around this time. John McKennedy at the point in the number 7. Then the aforementioned Sammy Ramo right behind him in the 06. Matt Swanson in the 3, Justin Bonsignor in the 51, and Doug Kobe in the 5 round out the top 5 as they double them up for the restart. Lights are off on the pace car. That means we can go back to green flag racing next time. And it's all on the line here. We'll have 233 laps of the 250 complete when they get back around here for that green flag. Let's see how these strategies play out. Some last-minute scuffing of the tires there on the backstretch before they have to stay in line behind that pace car as they head down the backstretch. Shadows get long here, late afternoon. Beautiful fall afternoon in New Hampshire, and glad you are with us to witness this, the second Musket 250, part of the full throttle weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Pace car is off. Field makes its way out of turn 4. Green flag is in the air. McKennedy gets the jump. As they head down into turn 1, Ramo hanging tough up on the outside, but gives it up to Matt Swanson. Swanson going for it all as McKennedy moves up the racetrack a little bit, and Swanson tries the inside, trying to find a spot to get back up there in line, but boy, they have filled that hole, and Swanson's going to have to stay on the bottom.
Chris Pasteryak on the inside making moves now. Pasteryak, the second-generation driver that Pete mentioned. We hadn't talked a lot about him, but doing a nice job. Now falling off the back just a little bit as that inside move did not work. Sam Ramo looks to the inside on John McKennedy. Nothing doing there. Justin Bonsignor right there. Chuck Hosfeld in 4th with Matt Swanson right behind him in 5th. Doug Kobe goes to work as he runs in 6th. Bonsignor now taking the rookie. Oh, they touched! Contact! Ramo hard into the wall. Justin Bonsignor went to the inside, slid up the hill, and they got together. And Ramo, day winds up against the wall.
Boy, what a tough break for Sammy Ramo, who actually was battling for the lead. He was doing his best to hold the position and hold off Bonsignor, and actually just ran right over the tire there, and that just sent him sailing up into the wall as he stops right there at the Eastern Propane logo, gets the helmet off, window net is down. He is okay, but very upset to have his day end like that, particularly this stage of the race. He is out and not happy.
Well, let's send it down to Joe, who's got the owner and crew chief of Car 21.
That's Joe Bertuccio with Chuck Hosfeld behind the wheel, making one of his final starts in modified competition. As he gets ready to retire at the end of the year, boy, you might send Chuck off with a big victory here in the late September months of his career. What do you think about it? Running inside the top 5, not a bad place to be.
It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell. But Chuck's doing a really good job. The crew's doing a really good job.
So that was a tough one as...
Well, certainly they've got about 15 laps to go. Joe Bertuccio saying it's just too early to tell as to what could happen next year. His driver sits 3rd. If history repeats, remember where Chase Dowling was. When they came to the white flag, he was 3rd. When Ryan Newman and Justin Bonsignor got together, I should say Ryan Preece and Justin Bonsignor got together in turn 3 in the final lap. Not a bad place to be.
As we said, that was a tough one, and a tough one to call as Bonsignor just upped the racetrack a little bit and basically ran over the left front of Sammy Ramo's 06. As we watch the replay up here in the booth, and he's got no place to go but into the wall. As a sad thing in the late stages of the race. Let's go back to Joe.
Ronnie Silk today had a dominant car here this afternoon, but Ronnie, a couple of cautions ago, it ended. What happened to the 85?
The 58 ran me over. I mean, I don't know if he had his eyes closed or what. He had just fenced the 51 coming off 4. I think the yellow was coming out, and he just drove over me. I have no idea. You'd have to ask him what happened, but it was just a moronic move for sure.
That's Ronnie Silk. He is out of the race. Had a very dominant race car here today. Was out front all day long with Justin Bonsignor. A brand new race car that they brought to the racetrack, but he's not going to be able to get to the finish. Comes up just shy today.
Yeah, that was a tough one as well. So tempers are high at this point. We saw that from Sammy Ramo.
Bonsignor on pit road now. Oh, no, it's not Bonsignor. My bad. That's Fortin. Looked like Bonsignor coming onto pit road, but it's JP Fortin onto pit road. Quick adjustment, and off he goes.
I don't think that Bonsignor is going to give up that position, even though not sure what might have happened to the front end of his car, because we've seen the replay over and over a couple of times up here in the booth, and he just drives right over the left front of Ramo, which caused it to be flat, and Ramo with nowhere to go, just hard into the safer barrier up there in turn 3. So we'll see if that has any effect on Bonsignor's 51 at all.
You got to wonder about the toe on that car. As hard as they hit and as hard as he landed after going over that left front of Ramo, you got to wonder if the toe might be knocked out on that 51 as he hit hard. And now he's going to have to come through. Looks like they've got him scored back around 8th or 9th position. Yeah, it looks like Bonsignor is in the 9th position on the racetrack, so we'll have to see if that car is A-OK and he can make his way back up through or not. Good shot for the folks watching on Fans Choice TV. Head-on shot, everything looks okay, but you just never know.
Those front tires look like they're pointed in the right direction. We'll find out when the green flag drops, that's for sure. And the safety crews have done a good job to clean up as quick as possible, because we continue to click off the laps here. 238 of 250 complete. The word from pit road, the 51 crew say that it is okay, the tires are up, and they don't believe the report from their driver back to the crew that there was anything damaged when that happened out there. So that's good news for Justin Bonsignor in the number 51, but now he's got to pass some race cars to get back up there and get into the battle for the lead, where it's Hosfeld in the 21, McKennedy in the 7. Kennedy in the lead with restart on the outside. Matt Swanson in the number 3. Doug Kobe in the number 2. A dramatic restart to the Musket 250 as the pace car pulls off, and they're on the throttle out of turn 4 as the green flag goes in the air. McKennedy trying to get the jump down into turn 1, and Kobe trying to stick with him. Meanwhile, on the bottom row, there's Chuck Hosfeld and Bobby Santos, who tends to be there at the end, and he does it again in that number 36, but can he make it stick down there on the bottom? McKennedy leads down into 3. Here comes Santos with a strong run down on the bottom in the number 36. Tries to work the underneath of Doug Kobe, but again, gets stuck down there on the bottom with nobody with him. That outside row just motors on by. Santos trying to make it work down on the bottom of the racetrack. McKennedy the leader, Hosfeld second, Kobe for third, Matt Swanson is 4th, and they are moving all over the backstretch. Again, trying to break the momentum of the other cars. Here come the leaders out of turn 4. McKennedy again. Hosfeld has Kobe with him, and Matt Swanson watches from the 4th spot. Santos was able to get up in line and pulls up behind Matt Swanson in the number 3.
John McKennedy looking for career win number 2. Won the opener at Myrtle Beach in 2018. This will be his 2nd career win, and what better place to get it than arguably the most spectacular racetrack that the modifieds race at. McKennedy drops to the inside. Kobe looked from the outside. Here comes Santos again. Santos continues to work that bottom groove. A little bit of contact there with Kobe, and Santos takes over the 2nd spot. What a move by Santos in the 36.
Bobby Santos not afraid to drive it in, and that's what he's been doing, making his time on the bottom of the racetrack. And he wasn't about to be muscled by Doug Kobe that time either, as they actually made a little contact out of turn 2. Scores Santos in 2nd place. He's going after McKennedy. Kobe's trying to come back. He goes down underneath Hosfeld to take over the 3rd spot.
Down the back straightaway now. John McKennedy showing the way, looking for career win number 2. First ever at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Throws the block on Santos. Santos having nothing of it. Drives to the inside, takes over the top spot. Doug Coby right there in 3rd. Do you want to be leading on the final lap, or do you want to be 2nd? Where do you want to place your race car going to the final set of corners of this event? 6 laps to go. Santos leads the way.
Santos out in front. We talked about the conservation of the race car that Santos has and comes on late in the race. Here comes McKennedy with a move down underneath. Can he make it stick? He does. Pulls up in front of Santos. Santos goes right back to the bottom and follows McKennedy as Coby looking for some running room along with Hosfeld. Here comes Santos again down on the bottom. Makes the pass on McKennedy. Pulls up in front of him out of turn 2 and will lead him down the backstretch.
Bonsignor working on the inside. Coby, big move, right of it off the front bumper of Hosfeld. McKennedy back to the lead. Hosfeld to 3rd. Bonsignor working the inside on Matt Swanson. The front 6 or 7 absolutely battling it out here.
Boy, that could have been disastrous. Coby just went towards the wall on the backstretch, but was able to gather it back up. They were nose to tail, bumper to bumper, and luckily they came out of it unscathed. Santos continues to lead, but he's got McKennedy all over. And here comes Coby back again. He gets around Hosfeld.
Coming to 3 laps to go at the stripe here. 3 to go at the stripe. Bobby Santos showing the way, but does he want to be there? McKennedy drops to the inside, drives to the inside. He'll take the top spot back from Santos. Coby right there in 3rd. Is he playing possum there? Is he showing everything he's got? Chuck Hosfeld would love to win his final trip to NHMS. McKennedy throws the block on Santos. In the meantime, here comes Coby on the outside.
Boy, when McKennedy went to throw the block on Santos, he left the top open, and Coby was trying to fill that hole. Boy, oh boy, there they go down across the stripe with just 2 laps to go. Here's McKennedy down underneath Santos one more time, trying to take the spot away. Santos hangs tough up on the outside. They're side by side out of turn 2 and down the backstretch.
McKennedy back to 3rd now. Santos out in front. 2nd is Coby. 3rd is McKennedy. Off of turn number 2. We will see the white flag. One more trip around. Santos in the 36 trying to take the win for the injured Dave Sapienza.
Yeah, Bobby Santos trying to make that car about 18 feet wide as he heads down into turn number 1. He'll lead him on the backstretch, and oh, he gets a shot from Coby. Is able to keep it under control, but can he keep the momentum? Here comes Hosfeld down underneath Bonsignor. Santos has made it back around Coby for the lead. Here they come to the stripe, down to the finish, checkered flag in the air. Santos will win it. McKennedy will be 2nd. Unbelievable. Doug Coby for 3rd. Chuck Hosfeld will be 4th. Justin Bonsignor finishes in 5th. Rounding out the top 10, Matt Swanson, Rob Summers, Chris Pastriak, and Gary Putnam comes home in the 9th spot. 10th will be Craig Lutz. Well, we've talked about Bobby Santos and his strategy in the past, where he drives a conservative race, saves the equipment, saves the tires, and then really turns it on at the end of the race. He's done that so many times. In fact, he did it to win 3 in a row here at New Hampshire in the past, and he does it again today. Finally gets the Dave Sapienza car to victory lane. They have come close a couple of times, and this time, as he's only a part-time ride for him, he does it right. But I'll tell you, there was a lot of elbows being thrown there in the last couple of laps.
Yeah, that was a wild and crazy finish, and we talk about, 250 laps being a ho-hum affair. No way. 2 years in a row. Comes down to huge excitement at the end of the race. Top 5 or 6 there, duking it out, coming to the stripe. What a race at the end. And as you said, Bobby Santos, part-time opportunity in this 36 car. Dave Sapienza got hurt in that hard accident at Wall Stadium earlier this season. Has put a couple of different drivers in this car. And Bobby Santos going to drive it to victory lane as he pulls down to where Joe Coss is waiting for him in the infield.
Certainly knows his way to victory lane. It's win number 5 at New Hampshire. He did done the others in the Tinio car that he was so fast in for so long. That team not running the 2019 season, and Santos ends up subbing for Dave Sapienza. And believe me, he'll get a big hug from Sapienza in victory lane for sure, as he has pulled it into victory lane, and they are pretty happy, as Bobby Santos will. You know, he keeps busy running open wheel cars in the southeast and in the Midwest, and he's won a lot of big races in sprint cars and midgets, and he certainly has been getting along, and now he adds another win to his list as he picks up a very prestigious race, the most prestigious of the season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, the Musket 250 here at New Hampshire, and once again, a race that does not disappoint.
Not even a little bit. One of the more exciting modified races of the 2019 season comes in the longest race at the biggest racetrack, and anybody who doubts anything about the show that the modifieds put on at this racetrack, there are people that say on a cup weekend that these modifieds put on the best show of the weekend, and I think they may have cast their vote for that here this afternoon. And tough break there for McKennedy. Really wanted that one badly. He and crew chief car owner Tommy Baldwin just couldn't quite close the deal at the end of the race.
Yeah, that was a tough one, but they're all right there for sure. And as we said, it becomes a little more defensive when you get to that point of the race. You try to use as much of the racetrack as you can. We said on that last lap, Santos wished his car was about 18 feet wide because that's what he needed to hold those guys off. They were coming, but played it just right. And it was just a game of inches there, particularly coming around on the last lap for Santos to pick up the win. As we said, John McKennedy comes home second, Doug Coby for third. That helps him with his point lead leaving New Hampshire. 2 more races to go, both Stafford and Thompson. Chuck Hosfeld for fourth. Justin Bonsignor was fifth. Matt Swanson was sixth. Robbie Summers was 7th. Chris Pastriak was 8th. Gary Putnam comes home 9th in the 77. Craig Lutz, whose day started out on the downside, was able to come back and finish in the top 10. Calvin Carroll, who we saw in the wall just the last caution or so, he comes home 11th. Woody Pitcat was 12th. Timmy Solomito 13th. Andy Seiss 14th. Timmy Catalado 15th. And Wade Cole for 16th. Blake Barney 17th. Sam Ramo, of course, out of it with that accident, will be credited with an 18th place finish. Then Burt Myers also out of it, and J.B. Fortin finishes 20th. We'll give him a big, rousing round of applause when Bobby Santos climbs from that car to celebrate another win here at New Hampshire in dramatic fashion, we might add. We've had some good finishes here today in all 3 of our races, the Pinty Series for the Visit New Hampshire 100. Here's Bobby Santos out of the car. Let's give him a big round of applause. What an awesome run for the driver from Millis, Massachusetts, Bobby Santos, in the Dave Sapienza number 36. He will get interviewed for NBCSN, and then we will hear his words as Joe Koss will talk to him. So we're talking about the dramatic finishes all day today. The NASCAR Pinty Series in their Visit New Hampshire 100, the NASCAR K&N Pro Series in the Apple Barrel 125, and then the big one, the Musket 250 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, a race that we're all going to be talking about for some time to come, that's for sure.
Yeah, no question about edition 2 of this weekend. Did not disappoint. Looking forward to edition number 3 already, as a great weekend of racing, including the Legends cars. They put on a good show last night. And then, as you said, all 3 divisions today. The Pinty's cars from Canada, the K&N East cars, and the Musket 250 ends with a wild, wild finish. And I'm not sure how we could top that, but I'm sure they'll try again next year.
Yeah, a race that you barely had time to catch your breath when they, with this race for sure, because it was something going on all the time, whether it was the multiple lead changes or the way they worked the draft and so forth, and then of course just the fact that it got real defensive there in the last couple of laps, and the way that they ran to hold a position. But Bobby Santos comes out on top. We didn't say his name a lot today because he wasn't running up there the whole time, but believe me, he's one you got to keep an eye on because as we say, he's one that comes on at the end, and you saw by virtue of the fact of being able to save the rubber on that car, he worked the inside of the racetrack. That's where he made his moves for sure, going way deep into the turns and able to make the passes. And when he had room to pull up in line, he got it done. And then it was all defense from there. Made great use of the mirror in that car.
Well, you said it several times during the course of the race. This is his MO. He came up, showed speed a few times, showed that, figured out what he had in his car, and then fell back into that, 8th to 12th kind of position and just rode and saved his stuff. And when it counted, there he was. As we send it down to victory lane with Joe and Bobby Santos.
Bobby Santos getting a big hug of congratulations from Dave Zappienta, his car owner who got injured at a race at Wall Stadium earlier in the season, injured his back, and then called upon Bobby Santos to race here. Bobby, this is an unbelievable finish here today. Describe that last move you had to take the top spot and eventually the checkered flag.
Yeah, I just, I saw the front, and I knew if I could put myself in position to be leading this thing and fighting for the lead, the top 2 spots, we'd have a shot at it. Just got to thank these guys. I mean, they worked their butts off all weekend. Sap, all his guys for, giving me this opportunity when, when he got hurt. For him to call me, that means a lot. But he's got a great group. He's a great leader of this team. And, just going to thank Whelen, Sunoco, everyone that puts this deal on. Pretty excited. This one's cool.
You have won some major races and short tracks throughout the Northeast and throughout the country for that matter. This one's a big one and a big feather in your cap. How does this stack up in your career?
Wow, this is awesome. And for as far as race wins and the competition in this series, I mean, it don't get much better. As far as I'm concerned, these are the best driver in the country. I'd put the top 10 in this race up against anybody, anywhere. So to win here against these guys means a lot.
Bobby, I'm going to have you stand up here on the podium, and so that way we can award you the trophy for today's event. Patrick O'Toole from Whelen Engineering here to offer congratulations for winning the Musket 250.
Congratulations, Bobby Santos, on behalf of Whelen Engineering. Congrats on winning the 2nd annual Musket 250 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway.
Congratulations, Bobby Santos, winner here today. And of course, when you win the Musket 250, you have to get a very special prize here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I'd like to welcome in the Executive Vice President and General Manager of New Hampshire Motor Speedway, David McGrath, to present the musket and the tricorn hat to Bobby Santos after his victory here this afternoon.
There you go. Hoist that over your head. Hoist it right over your head. There you go.
The Musket 250 hoisted high above the head of Bobby Santos. Congratulations from David McGrath. Doug Kobe was here to offer congratulations as well. Unbelievable day of racing, a triple header here as part of Full Throttle Fall Weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. History again is made as Bobby Santos picks up his 5th New Hampshire victory. He has done it here in the Musket 250 and cashes in on a $25,000 prize. Back upstairs.
And in dramatic fashion, too. Thanks, Joe. Very happy crew and a very happy Bobby Santos down there in Victory Lane. And quite a compliment that he put on the drivers. He said he would rank the top 10 of this finishing order as good as anybody in the country. And he ought to know he races with them, but he also races all over the country. And we talked about the fact that he's had multiple wins here in 2019, just not in a modified. He's been doing it in a very fast sprint car. He's been doing it in midgets and where he spends a lot of his time out in the Midwest and comes back here to run this modified program and gets it done. So another trophy to take home to Millis, Massachusetts.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. You're very right. Bobby Santos, very gracious in victory, very gracious in congratulating his fellow drivers. And that's just who he is. And, yeah, he got a little physical. He did what he needed to do to win the race, but kept it clean and did a nice job. And, as you said, made the car about 18 feet wide. And here he is in Victory Lane because of it.
Yeah, and he's hoisted up a couple of kids. One, his nephew, who is the son of his sister, Erica Santos, and her husband, Woody Pitcat, and also his own son, who just celebrated a birthday. his son travels with him to a lot of his races, and they make him the crew chief, if you will, and congratulations to them as well. So, yeah, we've talked about this race and how it unfolded, and we end up with a winner that's been in Sunoco Victory Lane 4 other times here at New Hampshire, Bobby Santos, and makes New England fans proud for sure. So, again, we want to thank you all for being a part of it here this weekend. It has been great. We thank Mother Nature for the weather. That certainly added to it. And all of you that were here to witness this, it's going to be talked about for a long time, at least until the next one, next September, the Musket 250 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I'd like to say on behalf of the staff and management of the Speedway and our announcers, Adam Ross from the Pinty Series, Joe Koss down on Pit Road and Victory Lane today, Andy Hall up here in the booth. I'm Pete Falcone. Thank you very much for being a part of it, as we have seen history made once again here at the Magic Mile, and we'll do it again come next July. Modifieds will be back here for just the same kind of exciting action, along with the K&N Pro Series and the Xfinity Series and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. That, of course, is July. Make sure you make plans for that. And right back here for another full throttle weekend in September here at the Magic Mile. Thanks again for being with us. Please take your time leaving the Speedway. Plenty of time to get out of there and then leave the speed for the Speedway when you are driving home tonight, so you can be back with us and catch all the action that is. All the NASCAR great racing here at the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Thanks again, and have a great evening.